Okay.
Admit that you of yourself are powerless to overcome your addictions and that your life has become unmanageable. That's roughly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Step two, come to believe that the power of God can restore you to complete spiritual health.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little different, but it's got the same tone. I
Yeah.
mean, two is all about belief and trust, faith. All right, three, decide to turn your will and your life over to the care of God, the eternal Father, and his Son, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's a little direct.
Yeah.
That's what most of the faith-based ones are. They take the 12 steps and they just add Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called regen. It just popped in my head.
Regen. There you
Regen.
go. There you go.
Hmm
And but it's like for step three, decide. As long
hmm
as they hammer that part. Make a searching and fearless written moral inventory of yourself. All right. I emphasize written. Admit to yourself, to your heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ,
To proper
to proper
priesthood.
priesthood authority.
Which is
What
the
is that?
it's the church hierarchy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And to another person, the exact nature of your. So all these people you got to talk to it about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's prayer, right? Prayer, your bishop typically, or your direct authority above you, which would be like your high priest quorum leader or your elders quorum leader.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Because it's kind of like admit to yourself, God, and another human being. I guess that is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Become entirely ready to have God remove all your character weaknesses. That's a little
Mm.
harsh.
You got to remember though, like this is within a religious framework where they're not trying to convince people. It's like there are consequences already attached to this.
Yeah. So this is already for people that are a part of the church.
Yeah, this is the church members 12-step program.
Interesting. Make a written list of all persons you had harmed and become willing to make restitution to them. So it doesn't mention amends. That's interesting. Wherever possible, make direct restitution to all persons you have harmed. Because that almost just implies it's just like pay back the money. Pay back the money. Do they have a different definition of the word restitution?
So this is a funny thing about like you can a Mormon and a Catholic can have a conversation and use the exact same terminology and be speaking about something completely different.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, because when I see restitution, I think something completely different than
right.
amends.
You think of like
Like pay back
penal,
your money.
yeah, like
Yeah.
penal restitution. Yeah.
Right.
No, this whether it's like I wronged you or stole from you or whatever, it is like I'm sure in the thesaurus you can apply both
Apply
to
both
the
to it.
same definition.
Hmm. Continue to take personal inventory. You're wrong. Promptly admit it. That's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Seek through prayer and meditation to know the Lord's will and to have the power to carry it out. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of the atonement of Jesus Christ. That is interesting. Share this message with others and practice these principles in all you do. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of the atonement of Jesus Christ. So
Yeah.
it doesn't mention these steps,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, so in the framework, like within the theological framework, that's the cornerstone of their entire belief system anyway.
Mm,
So this is taking the assumption that God is an ambiguous thing out,
yeah,
Yeah.
right? This is a very pointed 12-step framework to
to that.
actually apply to to like the theological
Because that's,
philosophy.
yeah. And I mean, and I get it because it's like specifically designed for people that are a member of that faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Because I mean, when I got sober, I was a Christian, I would say, and I really struggled with the Jesus thing of all of it.
mm,
Going to church, like it was good talking about God, but when you talked about Jesus, I like look behind. You can say that too loud, right?
mm,
I was kind of ashamed of that, I guess you would say. And in the big book, it talks about the great reality, and that's kind of what I clung to, the great reality. I could get behind that. And then after a couple years of the great reality, I just needed more.
Yeah.
And that's when I got into the discipleship. That's when I really got into the Jesus stuff because the great reality just wasn't enough for me at some point, right?
I mean,
so what was it then? So like, so you were defining yourself as a Christian, but it was difficult for you to
yeah.
talk about
So
Jesus.
yeah. So I did. So when I asked my wife to marry her, her father, one of his stipulations was that we go to church and that I go to this men's thing. It's called Trace Diaz, and I did that. Had an amazing experience. I mean, it is a wonderful ministry. I've worked a bunch of them since then, but I was still like I was about the experience, right, and not the relationship.
Mm.
And I would go to church, and I would hear him say things like, you're a sinner, work on that, be good, like get good, and then get God. And the message was so backwards than what Jesus was talking about, right? It's not get good then get God. We I don't have the power to get good, right? Within me,
Mm.
right? I have to rely on that higher power, rely on Him. Like when it's I get God, and then God, the Holy Spirit comes to me and works on me and kind of sorts this stuff out for me. Kind of like the porn, that stuff was just removed from me. It wasn't like nobody cared. My wife wasn't yelling at me. If she knew I ever did, she didn't care. But it was just this thing that kept eating at me. And then it's been probably 2 years since I looked at porn,
Wow.
and it was just removed from me. And like the cussing, you get convicted for
Mm-hmm.
for certain things, and that conviction just starts getting a little bit louder. And for the porn, it really didn't do that. It just kind of got removed. But like the cussing, the negativity, the pessimist stuff, all that stuff is what kind of gets at me today when I'm looking at things, from that other lens.
Mm.
But I needed more, and that's what it came to for me. And I know everybody has their other routes, but what brought me home was like a friend of mine sitting down and like putting some real time into me in discipleship. Like we started off real easy, like what did Jesus claim, right? And then the next one was, well, what did Jesus say was yours? And the next one is, how do you earn your righteousness? You don't, right?
Well, because that's like the interesting part for me. Because like I started out with such a huge chip on my shoulder towards
A-
anything organized religion,
Mhm.
and now I look at it with like openness and curiosity, and I think a lot of that comes just from directly doing the work and kind of realizing that like the stuff I was carrying with me around organized religion was more trauma about people as opposed to an institution.
For sure.
So it was like my grandma whipping the shit out of me for saying the Lord's Prayer wrong.
Mm,
That has nothing to do with the church. That's
yeah.
grandma.
Yeah.
You know, and so now it's like I look at it with that genuine curiosity with it because it's a side that I have not. I mean, I've dove quite a bit into spirituality, quite a bit into higher power stuff, but there's certain aspects of it that are still pretty new to me. You know.
Yeah, and I
Um,
still don't. I don't go to church. We don't,
mm,
as a family, we don't go to church.
mm-hmm.
One things we say is God didn't send me to build man's real estate plans.
Yeah,
We disciple other people. I work with guys one on one, and I get discipled. And that's the way. Sometimes we'll do some house church. For the longest, we did house church, but I moved back up to Montgomery. But like we keep it kind of grassroots, man. Disciple the streets, the people that are like me out there. And I'm not trying to go to church because my mind in church is like really, if you examine what I'm thinking in church, it's like, man, dude, we're gonna sing another song. I want to sit down, you know. And then the preacher, maybe he's going too long, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of hungry, and
yeah,
I'm checked out. And then I'm raising my hand when they're worshiping, so my wife sees me do it. My motives aren't there. Like I'm me personally, and I'm not hating on all churches or anything
exactly.
like that. I'm just
Right,
saying that like when
right.
I'm at church, there's a reason I'm at church. So you see me at church, you see how good I am with my little family and all that. And we just stepped away from all of that. My wife, we've been thinking about going back, but we do our Bible studies. We work with others. We do this discipleship thing. It's more apostolic, I guess. Apostolic is the word. Yeah,
That's cool, man. So it came from a place of you checking your motives.
for sure, for sure.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, this
Okay.
is a topic we didn't even plan on talking about.
yeah.
And here we
Yeah.
go.
I want to show you this part.
Show me, show me.
It's restitution and reconciliation.
And reconciliation.
So
Okay.
reconciling like the wrongs of the past. So this could be like
All right.
anything, right? But
Yeah.
they actually have a book, and so this is from the church's website, and all of the church literature is available for free on their website.
Good.
And so this
That's the way it
is
should be.
their
Yeah.
entire thing.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. Well, and then that's in line where it's like I was just talking with somebody about it yesterday. I was like, "What's the difference between I'm sorry and an amends?" An amends is just like so much deeper. It's talking about here's how I've changed. This is what I'm going to do different. This is what I'm doing different. You know?
Yeah, it's owning and changing the behavior.
Right.
And it's
Right.
interesting because like a lot of addiction that the church sees is porn addiction.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of
Mm,
sex stuff.
Infidelity. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
lot of sex stuff for sure.
Yeah.
wow. So somebody would dive into this program
Yeah.
for porn within, and I mean, I've seen that with sex
Within the
addiction
same
and
group.
pornography addiction.
Yeah, within the same
Same
group.
group as somebody that's drinking or
Yeah.
using drugs.
I mean,
Wow.
because ultimately, like when you frame it in a theological way, it's all the same fucking problem. Like you
No,
have a
it's true.
disconnect between you and God.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, it's all the. I mean,
Well, it's all dopamine.
yeah,
You know, it's
for
all.
sure.
It's like I'm looking externally to solve an internal problem. You know. All right. Well, maybe let's get to the actual list of stuff we were going to talk
Okay,
let's do
about. And we'll see how many of these we get to, because I'm heading to, yeah, pick up. Well, no, we got time. Well, we're going to aim to be done by 7, right? Is that the latest?
Well, let's say 6:30,
Say
and then we'll
6:30.
probably go roll over.
Probably. All right. So we got self sabotage. We got things I wish someone told me in my first week sober.
You know what I'm gonna start doing? I'm gonna
What?
get a wheel,
Get a wheel?
and we can
You
write
can
it on
spin
there,
the
and then
wheel
spin the
on.
wheel.
I like that idea. I
That's a
like
good
that
idea.
idea. How relapse actually happens. Learning to sit with feelings without escaping.
Okay, let's go in order.
Let's go in order.
Yeah,
Self sabotage.
yeah,
Self sabotage is an interesting one.
it is.
You know, like one of my packaged spiels around self sabotage is like actually digging into, like, because I've worked with so many people over the years that would say, "Hey, I don't know what the fuck happens. You know, I just things start going good and then I just destroy it."
Mm-hmm.
And then you dig into the foundation of that. I was like, all right, well, tell me about your program. Tell me about what you were doing when you relapsed. And not one of them usually says, oh, I was going to meetings
Yeah.
multiple times a week. I was taking care of myself. I was journaling, exercising, eating right, seeing my therapist. Like, no, it's the complacency that can come with when things are going well.
Yeah,
And so then you stop doing the stuff that helps
Mhm.
keep you on track and then relapse, you know? So it's like,
Just coasting.
it's coasting, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like, yes, true. If you're taking like a really broad snapshot of what happened in that relapse, things were going good. And then I started using again. But realistically, it's things were going good. So because of that, I stopped doing the things that were uncomfortable.
Mhm.
yeah. One of the most
Yeah.
common things that I've heard is I stopped praying.
Yeah.
Like I heard
Yeah.
that all the time. Like I
Well,
quit praying and I fucking
it's,
relapsed.
I mean, it's like I stopped the daily routine.
Yeah,
You know, it's like the maintenance part of this thing is so damn huge. We could probably talk for 2 hours just on daily routine.
For sure.
Like that is like so massive with
What's
recovery.
the destination versus the journey,
Yeah,
right?
there is no destination.
there is no.
and
There is
Yeah,
no mountaintop to this thing.
and I'm
You
I'm a
know?
destination guy,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I want to get there, to get it
Honeydew
done,
list.
check that box, let's move on.
Yeah.
And until I had that switch of, oh, this is a ongoing growth process that's going to continue for the rest of my life,
Right.
then there was really no chance, right? It was because I was always waiting for that. Okay, I'm really good now. It's kind of like when I was working in treatment, we'd have people bipolar, right? And they're on their medications and they're doing really good, and when they're doing really good, they stop taking them, and
Yeah.
then boom, right back
Right
down, and
back off they
they're out. It's
go.
the same kind of concept there. It's a you got to embrace the journey.
Well, yeah, and it like there's a freedom that comes with accepting that there's no destination
Hmm.
of like with the 12 steps, right? It's like you finish 12, you go right back to 1 and start working it over again, and you approach it in a different way. You know, it's like because I know so many people, because and we were talking about this before, where it's like I didn't work a 12-step program at the beginning, and I really only adopted it like 6 7 years ago, maybe 8 years now at this point. But like that was one of the freeing parts of it, because when I first went into it, it's like, all right, well, I want to crank through this thing. I looked at it like it was a checklist that I was going to knock out of chores I was going to do on a Sunday afternoon. It was like, am I powerless? Yes. Boom. 1
Yeah.
done. All right, on to 2. And it's like, no, when you know that you're going to start over again after 12, then it kind of enables, at least for me, to like, all right, why am I doing this? And really like sink into it and like challenge myself on the process, and not half ass, because it doesn't matter. It's like I could be on step 4 for 6 months,
Yeah.
But if I do it right and I'm actually challenging myself, that's the point. It's not getting past it. Yeah.
Yeah. eh, Yeah. Step 4 for 6 months.
I think I probably was on step 4 for 6
It
months.
was it was harder for me to look at that stuff, 2 years sober than it was fresh off the boat, because 2 years sober and I'm looking at all these behaviors and this stuff that I still have, and it's still very selfish, very, still looking at because I'm oblivious when I'm going day to day.
Yeah.
But we start breaking it down, and I did take 6 months to do that 4 step, and we were very thorough. Every line had a why, and we went through this, and I'm looking at this stuff like, oh my god, dude, I'm terrible.
Well,
And
that's why I like step like 6 and 7, not to go like too inside baseball here, but like when you're digging into like, all right, I'm understanding the stuff that's fucked up about me. And you're just like staring at it under a microphone.
yeah,
And you're seeing these patterns come up in just like innocuous, stupid bullshit. And like you realize just kind of standing there naked of like, oh yeah, I got years of recovery on my belt and I'm still doing this fucked up stuff. Like it's
yeah,
like if you're not in a strong, good place, you can go to a place of just like frustration and
for sure.
shame and
Oh
guilt
man, I was there.
and
I
like, oh
know.
yeah,
Yeah,
I get it. I
yeah.
get it, man.
Checking those motives at 2 years sober, thinking that, leading other men, working with other men, a
Mm-hmm.
counselor, for God's
Mm-hmm.
sake, and here I
Yeah.
am. I still have these selfish motives, right?
Yeah.
That no one knows about but you or
Yeah.
me,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
still holding on to it. But yeah, so working it in recovery was a lot harder than in the beginning. In the beginning, it's like, yeah, man, I know I'm a piece of shit. Look at all this stuff.
Well, yeah,
But 2 years in, I've built this other image.
it's like there's low hanging fruit at the beginning.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, I recognize it. I just got out of jail,
yeah,
but now it's like this insidious, like, just the fact that you ask yourself that, what's my motive for going to church?
yeah,
And you having that realization of like, oh, I'm putting on a show so that these people think I'm a good dad.
yeah,
It's like, how many things like today do I do because my motivation is I want other people to think I'm a good dad.
yep,
you
yep.
know and that's like I continue to check myself on that kind of stuff, versus like one of the times when I show up for my kids when nobody notices,
Yeah.
like that's the big stuff.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's okay. I got a pointed question for you guys.
Yeah.
A common thing you hear in recovery is self sabotage is a downstream effect of um, the fear of success.
Fear of success, I mean, I could see that. um
Okay, the question though is, do you think there's validity to the fear of success?
I think, yeah. I mean, but more in a sense of, and so much of recovery is peeling back the layers to why fear guides so much of my decision making. Now, like fear of success, because there's, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
There's like the, you attain some of these things and feeling like you don't deserve it. Because really, like when I hear you say that, I hear like 5 different other layers of
Oh yeah.
things, and one of them being, um, fear of failure was a much more potent big thing for
For
me
sure.
for a long time than fear of success, where it's like fear of rejection. So like walking up to the cute girl and making up a conversation, that was like, when I was 17, that was like climbing Mount Everest, like I don't think it was that way for you, but for me, and like it was like, oh my God, that's something I could never imagine myself doing.
Yeah.
And so it was that, like, not putting myself out there, and not taking risks. That was a very prevalent thing for me in addiction, and a lot of it was speaking my mind. Like I wouldn't agree with something, or I wouldn't like something, and
Yeah.
saying, hey, I don't like that.
Okay,
Or,
so what you're talking about specifically is like layered in childhood trauma.
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
that's really what I noticed,
Yeah.
man. And that was like in therapy, peeling back all the different layers of that,
Yeah.
where it was made very like apparent to me from an early age, rubbing against the grain was not safe.
Yeah.
Where it's like I would get punished if I rocked the boat, and so it instilled in me as an adult, like, no, it's not okay to rock the boat.
Yeah.
And you can't be like a well-adjusted human if you don't rock the boat sometimes.
Yeah. Especially as
Like,
you run into like friction points around right and wrong in recovery,
yeah.
especially.
Oh yeah, and then in work, in life, in relationships.
Yeah.
If you don't ever communicate what you're thinking and feeling in a relationship, god dang, like that, like there's no ability to have intimacy. There's no ability to have connection if you don't say, no, I don't really like that kind of music. Or like that's what I think back when I look back on like early relationships when I was still in active addiction. It was that type of thing where I didn't know who the hell I was.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, how can I change who I am to an amalgamation of who I think you'll like? you
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
And it was all this disingenuine. It's like, yeah, no, I love that music. I'd never heard of them before. That kind of stupid
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it not necessarily fear of success, but
Wait, have you guys heard this?
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
yes, but
Hmm.
it's more for me. It was lack of self worth, right? I didn't have. I
Mm.
had this belief that I was undeserving. We talk about that kind
Uh,
of stuff in story too, which definitely originates in childhood stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, and I've reached these levels many times in my life, business specifically, to where I mean, you have a business at a good point, and then you're fixing to make that next step to take it to the next level, and everything's going to be good, and then I burn it down right in that spot, right? And it's not an active thought of, oh man, I'm not worthy, I'm going to burn this down, but
Right.
something just triggers inside of me. I had a meeting with my father-in-law. We had vape stores long ago, and it was before Jewel came out, and I drew up this thing that we would sell in gas stations. And my father-in-law is a manufacturing genius. He's like, hey man, let's have a meeting, or I'm gonna send this guy over there. We're gonna have a meeting. So he came out, and I drew it up for him. He's like, oh man, it's gonna cost like 200 grand for the molds, this and that. And I'm like, oh, he kind of discouraged me. He tells my father-in-law. My father-in-law's like, look, dude, this is a good idea. I'm gonna get these guys together. We're gonna have a meeting. The night before, took a bunch of Xannies, didn't show up, and he called, like blowing up my phone. Later on that day, he's like, man, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I had all these guys, I put my neck out there for you. And I was like, damn, dude.
uh,
And it was before they were selling vapes. And, so this was like a big time next step thing, and I burned it down. There's so many instances in my life where I've done that. Right. And I think it's tied to this belief that I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. That doesn't go away. People, like, once you shine a light on it, it's not like I can talk it away. I drive up here thinking that. Like, I texted you, and what did I say? What did I tell you? I didn't know if you wanted me to impose, right? That's that belief, right? And it's always there, and it always surfaces. It's just the fact that I can recognize it now and understand, like, oh, this is that. Let me step into that,
well, yeah,
right?
it's like learning to manage it.
Yeah,
Like you can shrink it down to where it doesn't have like decision making rights anymore.
yeah,
But like, and that's even like when the chips are down.
yeah,
When you're hungry, you slept like shit the night before, you're stressed out. Like that's when
yeah,
that little like tiny little monster on your shoulder kind of grows back in size again.
yeah,
But yeah, no, and there's even a lot of science around that where it's like that wiring in your brain never goes away, but you
yeah,
can figure out how to manage it. Same type of thing like with anxiety, you know. But yeah, that fear of success. I mean, because like even still, it's imposter syndrome can be dealt with.
Yeah.
Like it can be, you can tackle that. Like you can dig into that to counter it. But it's like really what we're talking about with self-sabotage is one level beyond, where it's like there's probably 1,000 opportunities on like for meeting with with that important business meeting. It's like, all right, I'm going to set 2 alarms. All right, and then even still, you're set up for failure because you're actively
yeah,
blasting Xanax.
yeah. The night before.
So it's
Yeah.
like,
Dude, like it was going out of style too.
Yeah.
oh my
I
god,
mean, if I would have made it there, I'd have been slurring anyway.
Yeah.
yeah, that probably wouldn't have gone well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. Yeah.
It talks about that kind of in the AA book. It says, right before a businessman is about to,
Oh yeah.
change his life for this meeting, he gets tight the night before,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a common thing. And I
Mhm.
think, that fear of success, but for me, it's always that worthiness, right? Like,
Well,
I'm
it
not
is,
worthy
is
of this
is
meeting.
that stress too. I bet you were kind of stressed out. Is that how it started the night before? I'm stressed out. I'm going to have this thing tomorrow. I'm just going to unwind tonight so that I can really show up tomorrow. And
Yeah.
then did you tell yourself I'm just going to have one Xanax bar instead of 6 or something?
I'd love to say that I remembered the thoughts, but I don't, it was probably like, it probably usually starts something like this, man, if I eat half of one, it's
Yeah.
going to loosen me up. I'm going to talk
Right.
more. So I'm going to buy 10. And I ate the half
Right.
of one and it didn't hit me like I wanted to hit. And by then, boo, I'm taking 3, 4,
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, man.
You were on a time traveling mission.
For sure.
Yeah.
Dude. Back to the future, baby. Yeah.
I don't know. Self-sabotage seems to be this like it is a massive problem in early recovery.
Yeah.
It's probably a massive problem like way down the line too.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more manageable, but I think self-sabotage I think really more has to do with for me at least. If I am ever in a if I've ever been in pit, okay, every time I've ever self-sabotaged, which has been many times, was I didn't want to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like,
For
this is
sure.
gonna fucking suck.
No,
Yep.
that's really
I know what I
it
can do to
boils
get out
down
of
to.
this.
Yep.
You know,
That's really what it boils down to. Is like self-sabotage is
exactly what it says. Self-sabotage. Like,
well, yeah, but it's like it's nestled right up against, and it's really easy to paint it as I'm a victim.
oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, I'm just walking down the road and then boom, get sideswiped by a
Yeah.
relapse. There's nothing I
Mhm.
can do.
Yeah, I fell on that needle. It was not my fault.
Life just keeps shitting on me, and it was the only option I had. And it's like this misconception that we get rolled up into our minds, where self-sabotage really it cuts a little bit different if you paint it for what it actually is, where
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
I just stopped doing the shit that helps me stay sober.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. This is like
For sure.
this is something that we got to manage on the daily. You don't got to do it perfectly, but it's like something that warrants consistent time and effort. And now, granted, the farther you go down the road, honestly, the less time you have to put into it on a daily.
Yeah. Well,
like
there-
you still got to work on yourself, but
Yeah,
in
there's a
early recovery, it's like many multiple hours per day.
Yeah.
But now it's like an hour.
there's also
Yeah.
a tipping point where it becomes something you do. Like, this is just something that I do instead of something I have to do.
Yeah,
Right. Where it's like, this is
it's habit.
like working out, right?
Yeah.
Working out, because like a lot of people, they fall off after a month or whatever. Running, it's because it isn't something they do. It's something they have to do. But after a while, it becomes something like a part of you, and then it's like not even work.
Well, and that speaks to like that was even a topic I almost put on the list for today. Was like and I think we kind of touched on it last time. Was like the difference between discipline and motivation.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we did.
Like that's a fucking big one.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Because motivation is fleeting.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
worthless.
And you'll see the exact same thing with like working out, eating right, exercise, as you will with early recovery, where it's like, fuck, my kids are about to go away, or hell, I've got a UA next to like sometime this week for the courts. It's like, how often does that actually stop somebody that's like white knuckled to shit from doing it? It's like, no, you know what?
I
It's
just
gonna
won't
be.
go to court.
It's just gonna be like, it's
Yeah.
I got them on a colors
Catch
line.
me, motherfucker.
It's like I know it's coming up sometime this week. Today's Monday. This will be out of my system in 3 days. Odds are it's usually towards the end of the week anyway. I'm just gonna do half. And it's just like, god damn, the layers of horse
Yeah.
shit.
I used to Google how long will it take one hit of weed to get out of my system,
Yeah.
and it'd be like, oh, it'll come out pretty quick, and then I'd smoke like 6 joints.
6 joints, yeah. Well, because that's the whole thing with the powerlessness part of it.
Yeah.
Like the fucking Pandora's box that like is really hard. It was really hard for me to wrap my head around that in the early days.
Weed specifically.
Of it, like
right?
it is not possible for me if I am sitting with a pile of drugs in front of me. I do not have it in my physical makeup to only do a tiny little bit.
No doubt.
like,
No chance.
Like I'm going to go as hard as I possibly can
And
at
waste
that pile.
those other drugs? Come on. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like with that powerlessness, that Pandora's box part of it, it's not possible to maintain,
Yeah.
I don't know how many people I worked with over the years that would do the little shooters instead of the full bottle of like booze.
Yeah.
Where it's
But
just
buy 6 of them.
buy 6 of the little shooters instead.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it'll allow me to manage it.
Well,
And-
I really think when I'm doing this stuff, I really think that this beer, this shot, or this joint I'm gonna be okay. And then once I have that in my body, I'm looking at that next one like that's the one that's gonna make me okay.
Right.
And it just keeps going and going and going. and I'm always looking for this line, right? And inevitably, I always cross that line.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never there long. If I've ever made it to the line and stayed there, it wasn't long. You
Yeah,
know?
No,
it's the milk
exactly.
and the whiskey experiment.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fucking work.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
work.
work.
Chasing the dragon.
Yeah,
The
chasing.
constant chase.
Mhm.
All right. Well, should we go on to the next one? Joe?
Next
I
one.
don't even remember what the next one was. Things I wish someone told me in my first week sober.
Yeah.
And I was like, so part of, I had this crazy, crazy dream about 6 months ago. And I was at the old school Westminster Mall in Colorado that has like been torn down for 25 years. And like, I haven't even thought of this place. I mean, I think it was torn down in like 2001 or something.
What's
And
it called now?
the,
It's like the.
well, now it's not even there. Like now it's like a bunch of condos and
Okay.
stuff.
What's
But
the new mall called?
there's a
Like the
bunch of new malls.
Flatiron?
There's the Flatirons
Yeah,
Crossing. That's a cool mall.
it is.
It's not bad. But anyway, like walking through it, and it's like I haven't thought about this place in years. And I come upon a kiosk where you walk up to it and you pay $5 and you're able to have a 5-minute conversation with yourself when you were 17.
This was a dream.
This was a dream.
Jesus.
I know. And it's a long ass line. And so I'm like waiting to get to the front, and I have all this time to think about what the fuck am I going to tell myself from when I was 17 years old, and
It's a pretty amazing dream.
it was a pretty
Yeah.
amazing dream.
Did you make it to the
I didn't
front?
make it, never made
Of
it to the front of the
course,
line.
of course.
And then I woke up before then. But it's the same type of thing. It's like, all right, first off, I don't think there's anything I could tell to myself when I was 17 years old that would get through to me.
Mm-mm.
Like I would figure out a way to be like, oh, that guy's full of shit.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's talking
Not
about, even though
me.
it's me.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's somehow magically me. It's like, no, that's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, okay, like with that in mind, what could we realistically tell to ourselves in early recovery that would actually land? I mean, other than reassurance of like, dude, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Of like you're doing the right thing.
So
Yeah.
my first week of my first week of recovery, like when I
Yeah.
was 21,
Yeah.
I would have told myself, don't waste everybody else's time.
Well, what about we're talking about now? We're talking about like first week of recovery that you're in now.
Okay.
'Cause my first week in recovery was in a jail cell.
Oh, I know.
Like, like,
I know what I would have told myself. I would have told myself, nobody gives a fuck about whether you're in treatment or not. Nobody cares. Like if you were there, nobody would care, and because you're here, nobody cares. So
is it almost
stop
like
focusing on everybody else.
is like get over yourself type of a thing.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Because what it really was like, I've got a daughter that I got. Fuck, how am I here right now? Like, it's like, dude, you weren't doing shit for her anyway.
Was it like shame and guilt, like shitting on yourself? that
No,
you're
it
there?
was like, I got this now. Like, because this is after 3.5 years of sobriety,
Mm.
11 days of relapsing,
and then back to it.
and then like clean again, no bottom, no real consequences. And I was like, wait, I shouldn't even be here right now.
Oh, you're trying to talk yourself out the door?
No, I wasn't trying to talk myself out the door, but I lost focus while I was there because I was like, I shouldn't be here. Like,
Mm.
I was running groups and like the whole bullshit. And
It was
like,
probably so. It was a shame. It was like, there's people out there that need me. I'm wasting my time here, kind of a thing.
yeah, I was specifically pointed at my daughter though, because I knew like my family didn't care if I was there.
Mm.
And I didn't care if I was there. It was, you know what it was? It was raining. There was like a storm and there was like crazy lightning. And that was all the way in Austin, but it was the same storm that was hitting Houston.
Mm.
And I was like, fuck, I should be there with my daughter.
Yeah,
right now.
batten down the hatches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, dude, you're exactly where you should be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd probably say something similar because my first week, because it was basically like I got to such a point of hopelessness that like I was convinced that I was going to die. And so like when I came to in that cell and I was like detoxing as hard as a human being possibly can from like multiple substances. I still have this. It's a little jailhouse notepad where I was ticking off the hours since I had last used. Because like literally I was like counting the minutes, because I knew that when I got to that 5 up until that point, the longest I'd been sober since I first started like recognizing I had a problem was 5 days. So like I was like, once I get to that 5 day mark, this is the new personal best.
Yeah.
You know,
Which you're still doing today,
which
right?
I'm still rocking that same batch of
Yeah.
recovery today. You know, and but like waking up in that jail cell, you know, just like it was rough, rough, rough. So it's like, what would I say to myself then? Is you're alive, man. Like
Yeah, you made it.
you made it, and
Yeah.
and you got a whole lot more to give. And because at that point I was 26, you know, and I felt like I was this old sage, just this like fucking worn down old man, you know. And at that point I was a baby at 26. I could barely grow a beard. I can still barely grow a beard. You know,
Same.
but back then it was like 3 hairs, like a Fu
Yeah.
Manchu at best is what I could do.
Oh, if I grow it out, I look like Joe Dirt.
Dear Tay.
Yeah, it's a deer take. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of my first week sober. It's funny you said that because we went to we drew these we drew numbers. We went to the Astros game, and I was probably like 4 days sober, and it was to see where you sat at Minute Maid,
Mhm.
and I got Diamond Club tickets, so we were right behind home plate. I was on
Nice.
TV with my busted old mullet, and like 4 days sober, and the guy next to me is like, "Hey man, dude, call somebody, tell them you're on TV," and I'm like, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Were you right, like literally, like right behind home plate,
Yeah,
like feet
yeah.
up on the dugout?
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's
oh,
crazy tickets.
dude.
And I'm sitting there, and this is from treatment, and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, no one gives a shit,
Hmm.
buddy.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me you just caught 4 felonies, and a week later you're in Diamond Club. Who are you gonna call?
All right.
You know what I
Dude.
mean? No one cares.
Yeah.
I think the most impactful thing, like in early recovery, and I don't really know what I would. I was such a knucklehead. I think I was still finessing pretty hardcore my first week trying to get my wife sober. But it was the approach of like I'd always been approached and people try to control my recovery. They try to tell me like, hey man, you need to do this. If you don't do this, you're gonna die. You gotta do this. That kind of stuff. And when someone came up to me, be like, bro, you could keep doing that. You can keep doing the shit you're doing, right? Or you can do this. And I'd been around these people long enough to see their life and see the fruits of their recovery and what they had been doing. And it was like, here, buddy, this is your decision. This isn't like going to prison and like, oh, bro, you're gonna die, or going to AA. You do
Right.
this or die. And I love AA. I'm not taking anything away from it, but that approach of, hey, buddy, that's available. That life, you could stay in that shit. And I was 36 years old with my first son, and I'm sitting there, and they're like, or hey, how about this?
Yeah.
You could do this too. And putting that the chips on my side and letting me decide what I wanted to do was huge.
Oh man,
It,
that's so big. Well, it's autonomy.
yeah,
Having the right to make your own choices with it. And I mean, I had this so many times in like running a treatment program where it's like we need to make it clear to them that they have a choice to make here. Like
Yep.
you always got the park bench option.
for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Prison's available.
prison is available.
Yeah.
Park bench, go sleep out there in the bitter cold. I
Yeah.
mean, that's something you could choose. But I'm telling you, staying here with a cushy chef prepared meal, but yeah, you got to do some trauma work. That kind of feels like a better option to me. But, I mean, it's up to you, dude. Whatever you want to do, I'll give you a ride into town right now. And I mean, you phrase it that way, it helps people feel like they're not trapped.
Yeah.
Like painted
Yeah.
into a corner.
Well, then
you know?
there's like the extreme side of it where you hear those people be like, "I'll buy you your first sack," right? And I'm like, "I'll do that for
I
you."
won't go that far.
Have you heard that?
I have,
Yes.
not
Yeah,
in a
I've heard
treatment
that.
program. I
Yeah, they're like,
mean,
you want to relapse? I'll buy your first one. Or try this for 90 days. If it doesn't work, I'll buy you your first
Yeah,
beer.
yeah,
That kind of stuff. But I've talked about this with Aaron, and you met Aaron, and he always says like, what would that guy think about this guy you are today? And 1 week sober Matt isn't thinking you couldn't go back and tell him, hey buddy, you're gonna make a big impact on people's lives, dude. You're gonna help them in recovery. You're gonna build something, and you'd been like, bro, I'm just
yeah,
trying to stay out
full
of
of shit.
prison.
for sure.
I'm just trying to stay
Yeah.
alive. And that's what I would have thought. If you'd have come up to me then and said, hey man, you might be a counselor, you might run a treatment center, you might do that. I'd be like, what, bro? I'm just trying to like stay
I'd
out of
probably
prison,
feel,
dude.
I'd probably like get anxious if I was like, 26-year-old me. I hear that from the future me. He's like, man, you're
Yeah,
gonna make an impact. You're
dude,
gonna have some
yeah.
kids. You're gonna like do a lot of cool shit with your life. I'd be like, oh fuck.
What?
That means I have to live up to that
Yeah.
now.
It's a responsibility with that. And
Oh.
I couldn't fathom at that point who I am today. There's no
No.
chance, right? The change, the stuff that's happened. Because I was a scared little kid, week one,
Oh
terrified of
yeah.
everything and everyone. I just wanted to stay out of prison.
I'd probably just
You know,
I'd peel off some little pearls of just like stay where you are, do what you're doing.
Yeah.
yeah,
Things are going to be okay as long as you focus on where you're at and what you're doing right now in perpetuity.
yeah.
Short and sweet. Like,
If it
Yeah.
was
do
if
you
it
need
was
some money on your
17-year-old
books?
me, I'd say buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
I know. Yeah, buy Bitcoin.
uh,
I'll put $10 on your books for a
yeah,
candy bar.
yeah. I think that message has to be bite sized and digestible
Mhm.
because there is
Yeah.
so much shit going on in my head. There was so much shit going on first week.
Oh man, I well that's like because I lived in fear of detox. Like I think we talked about that last
Yeah.
time, where
Yeah.
it's like the fear of detox was so prevalent it stopped me from like pulling the trigger. So it was almost a good thing that I got into so much trouble at the beginning.
Yeah, dude.
Where it's like okay, like I can't go anywhere. I have no choice but to sit in this.
Yeah. The
And
the detox
it made it
process.
easier.
Yeah, the detox process when you have no options becomes much easier.
Oh yeah.
But the best interventionists in the world are judges all
Oh
day.
yeah, yeah,
Judges.
yeah. Yeah.
Judges
Yeah.
all day.
Well, and that's like because I've been torn with that of like because I very much agree that nobody should ever do a long stretch in prison because of drugs and alcohol. Where it's like their time is much better spent in a treatment program, getting some help. While at the same time, it's like, would I have been able to do this if I didn't have the fear of going to prison hanging over me? Like, I don't know.
I know some really fucked up people. They deserve to be there.
Well, yeah, and I think there's actions correlated alongside substance use. You got to be because you have to be held accountable for what you did.
Yeah.
But it's like I wouldn't go so far as to say that no one should ever have legal consequences because of drugs and alcohol. Or ultimately, like I got in trouble for things that weren't drug charges. It was
Right.
actions that
Because of the
things I did to fuel my substance use.
Mhm. That's
So
a
it's
hard
like,
it's a hard line to first of all see. So like to
mhm,
delineate between actions because of addiction and
mhm,
then like still holding people accountable for their actions.
right, right,
And I have to like point it back to me is that I've been to prison so many times.
mm.
Or it was like maybe the first one, which,
And so the
whatever.
fear of it probably melted away.
Oh no, dude.
Yeah.
It was I would I tell people this all the time. Today still is like being in prison is so much easier than being out here.
Mm.
Way easier.
It is way
Way
easier.
easier.
There's no
You
expectations.
Zero. And everything's
Yeah.
taken care of.
everything's
You don't have to
taken
work. You're
care of.
playing cards all day.
Yeah.
Mm.
Working out, hanging out.
Doing drugs, shooting shit,
Mm.
Yeah.
politicking. Like there wasn't a lot of deterrent for me involved in the consequences of my
And
actions.
that's so
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, because I remember you said the same type of thing about homelessness too.
Yeah. Well,
Where it's
homelessness
like,
is a whole other dude. That is
yeah,
like Megan and I talk about it all the time. We're like, the only thing that we miss is the actual freedom that comes with homelessness. There is
mm,
no responsibility. There is no connection to the society you're
Yeah.
surrounded by. And I think people try to capture that when they go out and like, I'm gonna go camping for 3 weeks and like I'm just gonna my phone's not gonna be there. It's like, yeah, I
you
know
live
what you're
that life.
trying to
You
do.
live that life
Yeah.
for a while. Well, because that's so interesting to hear because it's like I know I was never really homeless per se. Like I lived in my car for a period of time, but
No, you're homeless.
I was homeless, but it wasn't like
You weren't under a bridge.
I wasn't under a bridge.
But also,
know.
I was in San Diego. Like,
Well, and I was in like Colorado during the
yeah,
winter time.
you can't do
like
that,
it was brutal.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
And it was the fear of homelessness that was also another motivator for change.
Yeah.
But that's the interesting part to think about then. So it's like, all right, if you remove that fear, because it's like, oh yeah, I've been homeless for a while, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I've been to prison a bunch of times, it's not that big of a deal. Then it's like, God dang,
Yeah.
it's even harder to find recovery then.
Yeah. Well, when you take away the teeth of the consequences, it doesn't hold weight anymore. It's
Oh
like the
yeah.
first time I remember sitting there like getting my sentence and I was like, oh God,
You're
here I go.
probably about to
Yeah.
pass out.
Yeah, I was
you know?
18,
Oh my God.
and I was like,
A
3
baby.
years.
Wow.
And at 18, that's like an actual chunk of your life. I was like,
That's a
oh my god,
measurable chunk.
Yeah.
you know,
That's 20% of your life so far.
yeah,
So you're telling me, all right, I got to spend 20% of my life so far in jail, in a prison. Like,
yeah.
that's
In eternity.
And then the second one, it was like, all right, here I go again. And the third one, I was like, geez, I can't believe this is happening again. But it wasn't like, and really all it was like gearing up for like the same political bullshit. And I was like,
Yeah.
this doesn't sound fun anymore,
yeah,
you know.
got old.
That's where it got like after it got
That's where it got
old.
motivating.
Well, no, after it got old, that's where I was like, how do I avoid this? And then like the homelessness played into it. I was like, oh wait, I can just my whole like a lot of my arrests and stuff, all that stuff was like trying to stay inside.
Mm.
Yeah.
So like it was trying to find a place to sleep.
No, it was like selling drugs to pay rent and like selling drugs, like,
Ah.
like,
So you're trying to get by.
yeah.
Ah.
So then after it was like, oh, I could just be homeless and made that like very conscious decision around like that was 20 grand we just spent over the last year to try to, and I got us kicked out of like 14 places and like it was crazy. And all the deposits and all that stuff. And we were like, you know what? This is not working. And it was like, well, we can be homeless. And then after I became homeless, I was never arrested for a serious crime again until I robbed that bank.
Yeah, that was pretty serious.
And they weren't playing with that. So
That's
Yeah,
a
they
pretty
weren't too-
wild decision. Like, hey, babe, let's just be homeless.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest.
Dude, we had
So
a
It's a
full-
much
sensible
easier.
decision.
we had a full conversation and
Yeah.
we like negotiated around it. She was like, I gotta shower. You know, it's like, we'll
Yeah.
get a hotel 3 times a week. That's fine. We were already spending
Wow.
we were already spending all of our time with homeless people.
Yeah.
Like that's just where we were at.
So let's just let's cross that barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a place, but it got to the point where it was like she would have to come and find me because I wouldn't go home for days already. And then when I came home, I would fuck it up. I would tag the elevator and get kicked out or like,
really?
yeah.
You tagged the elevator.
oh yeah. I don't remember it. And they never showed us the picture, but that was what they told us.
That sounds like something you might do.
Oh no, it's very,
Yeah.
very probable. Very probable.
All right. Let's see. Next topic. Next topic. How relapse actually happens.
Gosh.
How does relapse happen? I mean, we already kind of talked about it with the self-sabotage part,
Yeah.
you know, where it's like there is a consistent narrative with like talking with and working with people that are like coming back from a relapse of all right, well, like give me the rundown, you know, what happened here.
The
It's like,
autopsy.
it's the autopsy. It's like, all right, you know, I stopped talking to my therapist, I stopped going to meetings, stopped taking care of myself, slowly regressed back, and then boom, you
Yeah.
know. And that's like that in a bunch of different versions is what happens every time. You know, we got a howdy. Who's our howdy on there?
Oh, let's see.
Is that your mom?
I wonder if it's Terry.
No.
Oh, I hope it's your mom.
That is Terry.
Oh, it's Terry.
What's up, Terry?
Howdy
Terry's
to Terry.
Terry's a really good friend of ours.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's a regular.
Yeah. I'm gonna buy a Jeep from him.
You're gonna buy a Jeep from Terry?
I need a bug out car that the government can't shut off if shit hits the fan.
Oh, really?
So he's got like a
And like a 1980s Wrangler or something?
yeah.
That was my dream car when I was a little
It's a
kid.
Cherokee.
Oh, Cherokee.
Yeah.
I wanted a Wrangler so bad when I was like 5. Like an old school Jeep.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
The square body Cherokees with some tires on them were pretty.
That's
Oh,
exactly what it
yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's a white
yeah.
square body Cherokee.
I want like an old Chevy pickup with
Yeah.
the bench seat up front, big ass manual transmission. That was what
4
my
speed.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what my grandfather had.
Hey, with the
if
like,
it can smell like Marlboro Reds too, that's what
Yeah,
I want.
I have one, but it doesn't have the it's automatic. Unfortunately,
God.
I have a '57. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it was a gift.
That's a pretty sweet
Yeah.
gift.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
was
sweet
gift.
gift.
It was crazy.
I just miss a manual. I miss like
Yeah.
a standard transmission. Like you can't get them now. All right, we're off the rails.
Yeah.
Okay. So
how
there-
does relapse happen?
Yeah. I mean, I
Like,
can't get
like
Dr.
say even
Shaw.
just like with your experience with relapses.
Okay, we could talk
Yeah.
about my last relapse.
Yeah.
So my last relapse was a culmination of a bunch of bullshit, right? It was I had 3.5 years of sobriety, but 2 years and 8 months of it, I was in a program,
Oh yeah.
right? And so
Like where did you feel like you were kind of sealed, like almost?
I had so much shit over my head. But then once I didn't, I was like, okay, I can make my own decisions again. and I never had that much amount of sobriety ever.
Mm.
And I was like, I think I can get high once and it'd be okay. And so there was like all the reservations,
Mhm.
right? But what I didn't realize was that I had sexual trauma that I had never talked about
Mm.
ever, right?
And did that get triggered up?
It wasn't
Like,
that it was triggered, but it was like that thing that was missing in my recovery where it was like, this is a big black hole. And a lot of
mm,
men just skip right over it because of guilt and shame and
right.
like inherited shame. And like, I was a fucking kid.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing that I did wrong in this
Mhm.
situation that warranted what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so, but shit kind of hit the fan. Okay. When I say that, what I mean is I'm having my buddy send me dope from San Diego and he can't ship it fast enough. And now it's like, once I had relapsed, now I'm on the streets looking for drugs and it's only fentanyl, right? And it's like, so that was like the downstream. But what got me to the relapse point was um, there was nothing hanging over my head anymore. That was the first part.
Mm.
There was no recovery community that I was plugged into at all. Like, it
Mhm.
was, I had just
Mhm.
moved from San Diego. I relapsed 2 months later.
So you didn't have did you hear that at any point before you moved from San Diego? It's like, hey, are you going to plug into a community
Oh
down
yeah.
there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what it was?
Oh,
Was I had my family, right? Like, I
yeah.
thought like, oh, the end all be all is like I can just plug
I'll
right
just
into
plug
my
it in with your
family.
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the problem is that's where all the trauma starts. Like, that's where it all
Uh,
started,
yeah.
right? And it's like now I'm like deal plus over a decade of no interaction with these people, and it's like I'm just gonna plug right back in and like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna be 15 again?
I bet it was awkward.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
The weirdest part was my relationship with my mom hadn't evolved a single bit, right? So
Yeah. So it was like a time capsule.
yeah, right back to the confrontation,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
back to the scene of the crime. I no longer have that great interventionist above my head saying you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. No recovery community. Also, absolutely like trying to be motivated to like do the right thing. And
Mm.
motivation, and I think motivation's bullshit,
Yeah.
right? And it was like I
Yeah.
couldn't find the job. Now I'm just at home. I'm just like not doing
Boredom.
shit.
Boredom is a huge
Boredom, yeah.
trigger. That's
Boredom.
like one of the biggest triggers out there.
And
You know?
so like I kind of drifted away from my family already because it was just there was weird dynamic shit going
Oh,
on.
I'm sure.
And now I was like, well, they're not going to notice.
All right. I'll get away with it.
Yeah. And you want to
Yeah.
know how they found out? Uh, the guy didn't have fentanyl, but he had meth. So I started shooting meth again. And I was walking around my community, like a gated community, like yelling for my sister because I had hallucinated that I got a text saying that my sister was missing. She's like 30.
Oh
You
my
know?
god! So you're walking around this gated community
Yelling her
yelling.
name.
Wow!
And my neighbors called the cops on me.
Yeah, damn straight.
And
As
the
well
cops
they
are,
should.
yeah. And the cops were like, what is going on? I was like, my sister's missing. And da, da, da. They're like, what? And I like
Yeah,
called my family and my family all like showed up. They're like, what the fuck is going on?
yeah,
And my dad was like, I know what's going on.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
little did I know that at the exact same time, like shit was really hitting the fan around. Like multiple members of my family were like coming out about being molested as kids by a family member. And so my mom
Mm,
was like, I know what happened,
mm,
right? Like I've had this suspicion and like all this other shit. And it was like, so all of this stuff came up like all at the perfect time.
mm.
Right. And so there was very little consequence other than I had to go to treatment and really start facing this shit.
Start facing it.
But that's where my last relapse comes from.
Well, that's like so. Is it? So that was the precipitator for you finally looking at and like healing.
Well, I never admitted it
Ah,
for 34 years.
yeah.
Never admitted it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, and the
'Cause-
fact that you can just talk about it now without it like
yeah. And let me tell you, like, for all the men out there that are dealing with this,
oh, is that your mom?
your biggest fan.
Is your mom
Oh,
on?
yeah, she made
What's up,
yeah,
mom?
she made it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So look, for all the men that are dealing with this secretly, dude, this is so common.
Oh yeah.
Dude, it happens so often.
Mhm.
And the inherited guilt and shame. This was a big fear of mine, was that everybody would think I was gay because it was a
Mhm.
guy that did it,
Mhm.
right? And it was like I have to like navigate around that. It's like, no, I don't, dude.
Mhm.
I don't have to.
Well,
And
you're a victim of it,
yeah,
and it's like, yeah, you can't own something that you're like a true victim of
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
You know?
But you do,
Yeah,
right?
you
You
do.
do.
It feels like it. Feels
Yeah.
like you need to.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then, like I unwound all that shit, and it was like all the sexual promiscuity and like all of the sexual deviance and like all
Mhm.
this crazy shit was to prove to myself that I wasn't gay like this whole
Yeah.
time. And it was like, I gotta let that shit go.
I've listened to a lot of Fist Steps, and 90% of them, that's in there.
No,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Same with me. Same thing with me,
And of that
Mhm.
10%, I bet you that other 9%, it's in there. They're just not talking about
for
it.
sure,
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, and it's like, so how your relapse happened. Do you think a lot of it was just underestimating how difficult it would be to reassimilate with your family after that long of a time?
Yeah, it was. I returned to the scene of the crime. We talk about this, right? It
Mhm.
is irrational to think that because a healing person is healing, that you can go back into the situation and expect everybody else to be healed. They
Right.
were all living with the same trauma that I left them with,
Yeah.
right? Now they're all like on eggshells.
Oh, I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah,
I bet every time they saw you walk in, they're like, "Oh shit,
yeah,
look at his eyes. Do they look
yep,
glossy? Is
yep,
dude high?"
yep,
At that point, you're 3+ years.
yep,
So that's a trigger in and of itself.
yeah.
Then, that was one of the hardest parts. And I like, for you move on from the blast crater of your life,
Mm-hmm.
where your family is thinking that you're dead every day,
Mm-hmm.
to go and do this genuine work and healing, and then you come back and their blast crater's still right there.
And they're around it.
They're
They're
around
looking
it.
into it,
They're looking
going,
into it like,
yeah,
oh fuck. And so it's like completely reasonable
yeah,
that, like, and this is like one of the hardest pills to swallow in early recovery, is that, like, you might feel like your life is completely different, and it is.
mm-hmm.
You, like, in 30, 90 days even, like, you feel like a completely different human. But
Well, dude,
it
William White said it. He said in one of his books, he said, you'll never be more sober than you are after 3 days,
Yeah.
right? You'll be more recovered, but you'll
Yeah.
never be more sober.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's the complexity of like post-acute withdrawal, but like
Yeah.
as far as like acute,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And so that's like, the thing I've walked so many people through is like, isn't it reasonable, like expected, that your close family members are going to look at you sideways for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got a lot of healing.
Years.
They got a lot of healing to do and a lot of trauma to kind of overcome, where
And
they,
that's if they do it.
oh yeah.
A lot of people just leave it and try to move on. And
And
that's,
well, and then in early recovery, like being around that, like you don't have a lot of, like, there's not a huge like account of self-worth that you can withdraw from,
yeah,
and so, like, there's nothing more triggering really than being accused of something that you didn't do,
yeah.
like for most people,
Oh,
like
dude, and that is
across the
such a good
board.
excuse.
And then that's like, you're getting that every time you see your mom. It's like,
Yeah,
fuck. Like
yeah,
that's like as big of a trigger as you can imagine.
yeah.
So I bet that was really hard.
I mean, it was, yeah, but here's the ultimate lesson out of it was, if I take full accountability for what I did, then whatever they're going through is what they're going to go through.
Well, yeah. And then it's also, it speaks to communication. It's like, I bet if you had started out that, like, assimilation with like, hey, we've got a lot of healing to do, and I
Yeah.
recognize the reality that it's been 10 damn years
Plus,
plus,
yeah,
you
with
know,
zero
with zero
contact.
contact. It's like, this is gonna be awkward as shit.
Yeah.
Let's like talk about
Well, think about it.
it.
The last time they saw me was 21,
You were
and
21 and
oh,
then 35 or 36.
32 was like my first interaction with them,
Wow.
and then the integration was like 33, almost 34.
No phone
Yeah.
calls, nothing.
Nothing. So I used to tell people that I didn't have social media because of the government,
It was because your family.
but it was because I didn't want them to find me,
Mm.
Yeah.
right? And so I got my first.
Were they actively looking?
No,
Mm.
no. Like there was a very clear understanding that as long as I was doing what I was doing, that I wasn't welcome.
Mm.
And so I watched my uncle go through this, right? The uncle that molested all of these people.
Yeah.
He would do the 1 foot in and 1 foot out thing. And he burned systematically over and over every
Yeah.
bridge, to the point where it was like, you're not welcome. And then shit hit the fan around like the sexual shit. And it was, but before that, even, it was like, we don't care. There was an open deal because I'm not the only addict in my family, right? There was an open deal. All you need is a year sober and you can come back,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is a pretty common thing for people who are aware of addiction, where they'll set like an arbitrary number and say, hey, if um um
I'll just answer that with no.
okay.
We'll go on to something else. I mean, I don't know if we want to peel that open.
No,
I would say no.
no, I pretty sure this is a troll from someone else's page.
Okay. Well, we're gonna say no. Anyway, you were saying.
Um yeah, the arbitrary settings and like all this stuff, right? But I realized really quickly, like, because I was, I told him like, oh, I had relapsed. No, I would continue to use after prison and like all this stuff. I
Mm,
overdosed 3 days out of prison, but I had to like tell him like, hey, I relapsed 3 months after I got out, and I realized like, oh, I'm doing exactly what Josh did.
yeah.
And so my decision around it was, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna whatever this means right now. Like I'm at this fork in the road where I can go do what I need to do and then come back when I'm ready, or I can just burn every bridge possible.
So it was almost like an acceptance, like a deep acceptance that you just weren't ready.
Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
it's like, no, I'm not ready to make a change at all.
And
You
this goes
know?
back to what would you tell? I would have told myself, don't waste anybody else's time. Right. At
Mhm.
that time, there was like this thing going on in my head where it was like, I could still manipulate. I can still get away with this. I can still live in someone's house or whatever. But it was like, with my family, it was like very cut and dry. You can play this game with us, but we're gonna find out and you're gonna be fucked. Or you can just go do whatever you're gonna do and come back when you're ready.
Mm.
And so,
So you came back when you were ready.
cut all time. I came back
Yeah.
when I was ready. But what I didn't realize, and I learned this in that relapse, was just because I was ready doesn't mean, and this is where my whole philosophy around it's irrational to think that they've healed because you have.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that takes a lot of humility too. Of like, now I got to recognize their journey
Yeah.
and like kind of where they're at with everything. You know.
And there was like a lot of intense shit going on. Like, had my ex-wife there. There was like an abusive. She was like born and raised in TJ. Not saying that that's whatever, but like, dude, we were beating the shit out of each other, and like, it was a fucking mess.
Mm.
And we were married at 18. It was just a whole mess. And so they were all little kids. I'm the
So you
oldest
got
of 10.
so you got married at 18 and then immediately went to prison.
Dude, not only that.
Working out the timeline here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell you the timeline. I got married at 18 in October.
Mm-hmm.
I turned 19 already locked up going to prison in April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. I can imagine those phone
I
calls.
can't even
those letters.
imagine. I'm barely like with my 40-year-old dude brain able to wrap my head around like being married successfully now. Like 18, like there's no way.
I mean, dude,
There
think
is
about.
no way I could be in
ain't
a
easy.
healthy relationship. Were you with your wife then?
When I was 18?
When you're 18?
No. I didn't meet my wife till I was 29. So
And 29, that's a good age.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
But in my head, what I was actually doing was proving that I wasn't gay.
ah, yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
To
maybe.
myself, it was like, oh no, I've got it. And then you can like unwind this even farther back, where it was like, my life has been. I tell people all the time, my motivation for being a drug addict was to have girls around me. Because if I had drugs, they would be there,
Wow.
right? And that's like really where it spiraled out of.
Well, yeah, and then it's genetics too, and everything else, and
Yeah, I
so
don't have control over the genetics,
Right.
which I'm definitely have a genetic predisposition for
Mhm,
addiction, but
mhm.
the mental part of it that I had to really unwrap, and I had 18 months of like bi-weekly for months going to a therapist and just unwinding all this shit,
Yeah.
right? And it
Well,
was
and
like,
it's understanding because it's like it's also just the culture and where you were born in and where you were growing up in. And it's like because like now, again looking back with my fully developed 40-year-old brain, it's like I can understand there's like nothing wrong with being gay, like at all. Like no, there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with it. But like in the late 90s, depending on what culture you grew up in, it was like that was like the insult, as messed up as that is, and a lot of it was just coming from a place of no understanding or acceptance.
yeah. And so in San Diego, there was a huge gay community,
Hmm.
and I was raised in a super Christian home.
Right.
And so there was like all of this division
This is like, of like,
around that
like, it's
specifically.
not okay.
It
It's
is
not
not
okay.
cool.
And it was just like kind of like subconsciously pounded into your
Yeah.
head from such an early age.
Hmm.
So then like the conflict, because it's almost like, all right, so like the genetics was like the lockbox, and then the like, you know,
Well,
conflict with yourself
check
opened
this
it
out
up,
too, is
you
that
know.
like I wasn't like violently raped or anything. Like the reality is there was huge physical parts of me that liked the way that it felt.
Mm.
Right. And so I had to
So then it
like
was the shame and guilt around
wrap
that.
my mind
Right.
around that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Where it's like I was a child dealing with adult emotions around sexuality.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Like that's really, really rough.
Crazy.
Oh
And
yeah.
I remember this. I have a vivid memory of like my friend George and Gray, and this was in like kindergarten. No, it was like preschool, right? It goes kindergarten, preschool.
Mm. Preschool, kindergarten.
Okay, they were talking
Usually.
about gargoyles, right?
Mhm.
And in my head, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like I'm thinking about what happened this weekend, and they're talking about cartoons,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm fundamentally different than these." Like I didn't even have the words; I just knew I was different,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Was it the TV show Gargoyles? The old
Yeah.
school cartoon?
Mm-hmm.
That was a good show.
That's old school. Yeah.
um,
Well, I was trying to think about my last relapse, and we talked about that a little bit. But man, I was probation sober. So do I even really
yeah.
consider that? Like I had been in around recovery since I was about 12 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad was like the circuit speaker. Um, and when I turned 16, I think it was when I got my first chip. But it was always I had never ever over 20 years had a solid routine really like I'd meet with sponsors, especially if it would like get me out of the sober living for the
So you're like
weekend or
going
something.
going through the motions.
Yeah, I was always going through the motions. There was never any depth to any kind of program because, like we were talking about last time, I was always trying to finesse something, right? And I always
Mm-hmm.
had this end game in mind, like I'm gonna get through with this. Mama's gonna go out of town, and I'm gonna smoke some weed. I'm gonna do something, right? And it was really like looking at how I'm situated now versus how I was situated then. Even moving back to Montgomery and talking to some of my old friends, like the mindset of them is like I go in there and the dude's like, "Hey man, he just got a Rolls, right?" And he's like, "I just got this Rolls Royce and check this out. Look at this." And it's all like the way I was back then was I was always chasing money, chasing these external things, right? The truck, the boat, the success, the external worldly success stuff, right? And my
Mm.
my friends now, the men that I talk to now, that I surround myself with, when I have conversations with them, it's about purpose. It's about being a better father. It's about getting out, being useful to others, right? And
Yeah.
and the whole mindset is different. So back then it was like I didn't have any outlets, right? Also my wife was using, and I was super jealous. I'm not blaming her, but I was just like covertly jealous that she was using and getting
She can
away with
use.
it, and I
She
was
can
on
use, and I
probation.
can't.
So I
You know
had
what I
this
mean?
big plan of like I'm going to get off probation and I'm going to smoke weed, and I bought all the best weed I could order in and find, and the moon rocks and all that stuff, and had it in the garage. And I remember just hitting it and being like, man, this ain't it, like,
Yeah.
and I knew it wasn't that like this ain't it, I'm getting high, it's this ain't enough,
Yeah.
right? And I knew in that moment, as I'm smoking the first one, rolling another one, I'm like, this is going to get bad. And then we started that 9 months of absolute terror, the longest
Mm.
I've ever had a run, by the way, 9 months. And
Mm.
so I think it was a lot of me trying to
Do you
beat
know
it.
how that ended?
No.
His their month is coming up, but you got to hear that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How?
Did we talk about that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember. It's
How that
been
nine
six
month?
months.
How that 9 months ended?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm kind of
Dude, he was
curious.
fucked.
It was bad. It ended in Walmart. It ended like I got set up, and I don't know. There was a lot of things around me getting set up.
Who set you up?
It was weird. I don't know. I have suspicions that it was a family member, but if it was, and I've talked to him about it, he denied it. And
So
I'm like, hey man, if it was you and you were behind this, thank you.
yeah.
Like it that was the start of me changing my life, and I needed it. We were gonna die. I truly believe that if I would have made it home that night, that I would have died. I had about 8 grand worth of dope in my backpack. They thought I was selling dope, and I wasn't.
Mm.
I mean, if somebody needed a little something, I'd sell it to them. But mostly, I'm like, bro, this is mine, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd left my wife somewhere, and I went to Walmart. And when I get high, and I'm up for a couple of days, I would need a hammock. I don't know what it was.
You liked a hammock.
I never even hung one up. And
You
but
never
I
hung
would
up.
always go search for the perfect hammock. I actually had one hanging in my garage, but but yeah, man, and I'm going through Walmart. I've been there like 2 hours, and I get surrounded by Conroe PD, and I have a basket, and I have like first aid kits because if I saw a first aid kit, I would remember that I was a father, and I would be like, oh, what do I? Fathers need first aid kits, so I would get a first aid kit every time I had a stack of them, and yeah, I got surrounded in Walmart, and they arrested me. They had followed me from Coppin to where my wife was. They kickdoored over there, and then they came, got me in Walmart, and of course, I bonded out real quick and tried to get high again, and made it about another week getting high before I went into treatment. But like
Which, yeah.
Wow.
I didn't have any outlets, man, and I didn't have that. I don't even know that I wanted it, right? Because I was still under the delusion that I'm going to be okay, and here's how, right? If I make more money, if I get that next ATV, if I get a bigger lift kit on my truck, this, that picket fence, the wife, all this stuff. If I have all this, but the problem was when I got arrested, I had it all. I had all of it and all of my solutions my whole life. I remember being a little kid, feeling that way. I don't belong, right? I'm less than. I need to have better four-wheeler. I need to have a better, and we didn't have any money growing up. So once I got a little bit, I went crazy. All these solutions that I had in my mind, and I had exhausted all of my plans. And I remember just sitting there like, I told y'all about that, looking out that window
Yeah.
with everything,
Everything, and you're still miserable.
and I'm still
Yeah.
just as miserable as I had ever, more so than I had ever been, because I think that sense of defeat, like, now what? Now I'm gonna have to
Mm.
do what I don't want to do, and that's work. And I
Mhm.
don't want to. I would do anything to avoid a morning routine, to avoid writing a four-step, to do any of it. I didn't want to do any of. I'll work like with my hands. We'll get out there and build something, but I
Yeah.
didn't want to do any of that when it
So you
came
just
to that.
roll straight out of bed, head to work,
Right.
just
I
like.
didn't have any of that. And it's like, okay, I gotta. And if I took two drug tests in the first week of the month, I'm getting high.
Yeah.
On probation, and then I'm gonna probably fail the piss test next month because I can't stop. And that, I mean, that's just how it went for 8 years when I was on papers. But it was like all of my relapses are the same. I'm just looking. I was always. They were never my recovery, my sobriety. It was never real, right? It was just to appease the people around me,
Yeah.
and that was it. And once those people stepped away for a weekend, I'm gonna do what I do. And then, my wife would come home after. Dude, she got called by the police on church trips, but she would come home, and every time she'd be like, "Hey, did you get high this weekend?" And I just start crying. Be like,
Mhm.
"Yeah." Every time. This wasn't like a, once in a while. She'd be leaving the driveway. You're gonna be all right this weekend. Yeah, I got to go to the shop. I got to handle the guys. I got to do this. I got dope in my pocket,
Yeah.
right?
Just
Or
counting the minutes.
I'm waiting, like, please pull out of that driveway.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'd eat something or do some drugs as soon as she left, and just pray, don't forget anything. Don't come back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, until, the weekend's over. But mine was, it was always, I never put any action into real change because I always carried around that value, that unworthiness, that I don't belong, all of that
Mhm.
stuff, no, it was underlying everything. And I'm going to make that a
Mm.
self-fulfilling prophecy. Kind of like, I think I told y'all last time, when my first day with my wife, we went to IHOP because I was balling, dude. And I looked her right in her eyes and said, "You should run. I'm going to ruin you." I mean, just like that
Mm.
statement, because that self-fulfilling prophecy in my life, I'd rather be right than get hurt,
Mm.
you know?
Did you go to IHOP to stop the bawling? Was
Huh?
it like I was bawling, so I went to IHOP?
No,
It's like I need
I
some
was broke
pancakes. I
when
need some pancakes
when I
right now.
met my wife. I was super broke. We had just started our first vape store, and I didn't have anything. I was on unemployment, actually. I started my first vape store with unemployment money.
Really?
Don't tell them, but I think I had to pay it back. But yeah, it was. I never did anything. I would tell people, I would lie, I would finesse, you know. And the crazy thing is that I would want you to think that I was doing good rather than me doing good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is
That's
crazy to
what
me
mattered.
looking back,
That's what mattered the most.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
the perception of me. Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
think? And I'd go in those meetings and I'd make everybody nod their head, and they'd be like, "Man, dude, I want what he has." And then I'd go home and
Mhm.
drink or take some acid or smoke or whatever, because I was there just to get the head nod, just so
Mm.
people would see me, just like church. What were my motives, right? And my motives were
Yeah.
perception.
People liking you.
Yeah,
People
right,
having a good
right,
opinion of you.
right.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you own a hammock now?
I do not, but
You do not own
I
a
need.
hammock.
I actually, I'm lying. I do. It's not one that hangs in trees. It's one that you could fold up and like take to the baseball game.
There you go.
But yeah, we do. I've been eyeballing a couple trees. When we get our
Yeah, you gotta
property cleaned up, I'm gonna put it out there.
get a real symbolic, just like top tier hammock out
Yeah,
there. Live that dream.
you live with first aid kits.
First aid
We
kit.
got plenty of first aid kits. We're good. Cooper's fine. But that was pretty sad, seeing those first aid kits and being like, oh yeah,
that is
I'm a
sad.
father.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
Why do you think you have that connection between first aid? Is it just like little kids and band-aids? Little kids love band-aids.
Maybe,
Yeah.
or just the fact that like I was so irresponsible, like
Mm,
that if something happened, I wasn't prepared, and like I wanted to be
I
like I'm
wanted to
gonna
be
be
prepared.
responsible here, right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna have some
I'm gonna.
peroxide. I'm gonna be ready to tend his wounds, even though like my aunt and my father were pretty much living with us, taking care of our son.
Mm,
Like I was in and out, I was gone, I had to work all the
it
time.
was like a little, just like feeling of control.
Right.
Like I'm spinning, but it's like, all right, at least I got band-aids.
Hey, we're gonna be
Yeah.
okay if you cut your leg or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting. My like the final time I used was, yeah, it was pretty crazy. Not as crazy as that, I would say. I did not get set up. Mine was like in a stolen car. I was in a stolen car at about 1 in the morning after
You were driving?
no, so what I would do is is I would park the car in like an unassuming part of like a little sleepy suburban neighborhood, and I would try and look for like a long stretch of fences, like a backyard, so it wouldn't be like right outside of somebody's house. And I would park, and I'd turn off the lights, and then I had all these towels, and I'd put them up over all the windows,
Mm.
and I'd make this just little cocoon and I do all the drugs,
The
the
smelly.
smelly,
Yeah.
I do all the drugs, and I like listen to audiobooks and just be like, orbiting Jupiter.
Yeah.
You know? And it was like 1 a.m. and I hear a rap on the door, on the window, and I peel back my
Your
towel,
curtains.
peel back my little curtain, and it's a police officer pointing a gun at me.
Ooh.
Because he saw that it was a stolen car,
Mm.
and so that was November 3rd, 2011.
Did you like
Yeah.
hotwire the car, or was it you stole it from?
No, I stole it from my dad.
Oh, okay.
So I grabbed the keys. I mean, that was it. Like, because I had like a stack of charges, but they were all basically just like, because I can, the super surface level, stole my dad's checkbook in his car,
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, when you write 40 checks to yourself,
Yeah.
it's 2 felony counts for every single one of those
Yep.
checks, And so then it was that. It was all the drug paraphernalia in the car. They basically, like, the residue from all of the needles in there was enough to get like a big felony possession charge,
Yep.
you know. And that was the last time I'd used it, because I mean, it was basically I'd had gotten into trouble because it was layered, it was stacked here, because I got into trouble for the checks, and I never even had a speeding ticket at that point. Like, never got into trouble a day in my life. And so they gave me a PR bond where they just like let me go
Yep.
immediately after that. And then I was on that colors line where, you got to call every day to know if you got to go do UA.
Yeah.
And I could not stop. Like, I could not stop. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep using until my color gets called. And then I'm taking that 1999 midnight blue Saturn station wagon and riding off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I did. And it was 3 weeks or whatever, living in that car, living
And
that life.
riding off into the sunset consisted of being like in the same
Yeah,
city
being like 4 miles down the road from my childhood home.
Same neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I was like where I got arrested was legitimately a 5-minute drive from my dad's house.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But it was rough because I hadn't taken a shower in like a month at that point. Like,
Nice.
yeah. And it was cold. It was November in Colorado, and it was unseasonably cold. It was like a cold November. And it was a 40-minute drive to the jailhouse from there.
Oh,
And we drove the whole way with all 4 windows down because of the
you
smell.
smelled.
Yeah, it was an uncomfortable ride. And that was the start of it, because like, God, that detox, you know, that that's the memory I have, is I'm like, all right, I'm going to do everything I can to sleep through this.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just like, I didn't even shower when I got to the jail, I'm like, I'm just going to sleep through this. And I managed to fall asleep, and I wake up to someone banging it wasn't even the Crocs back then. It was like the sandals, like
Yeah.
the jailhouse flip flop.
Bob Barker's.
Bob Barker's. Yeah, he's banging that on the wooden on the metal frame, saying like, "Hell, if we're gonna be bunkies, I can't have you smelling like a goat."
It's important. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And so like I go and take a shower and come back and try and sleep through it. And it was just so miserable.
Yeah.
It is so miserable. But like so my relapse at that point, that was technically my last relapse, was that use after I got, PR bonded from jail. But it doesn't really feel like a relapse because it's like
The same
it was the
continuity.
same continuity. I just white knuckled it through 2 days of detoxing in jail before they let me go, and then I used again. So it is a little bit different. But anyway, what do we got? We got 25 minutes. Um, what was the last question? There was one more.
Yeah.
Learning to sit with feelings
Yeah.
without escaping. Oh man, have I told you the story of the buffalo? The treatment buffalo. I don't know if I have.
About the storm.
The storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've told you about
Yeah.
it. All right. So like this is like I guess you could call it a parable that like was mentioned at a handful of different treatment programs I worked through years ago. And there's even it's part of the analogy for a treatment program in Colorado where they have a buffalo as a part of their logo. And it's
Yeah.
also because they're in Boulder and the CU buffaloes are there. But so it's that idea of so the cow, when a storm is coming over the horizon, will instinctually run away from it.
Hmm.
Whereas the buffalo will instinctually run towards the storm, knowing that the storm coming in, them going towards it, it'll be shittier for a period of time, but it'll actually pass over quickly. And so that's like an analogy. Like there was a big mural of a buffalo in the lunchroom of this treatment program that I worked at years ago, of basically that, of be the buffalo. So you can actually get through your shit quicker if you lean into it instead of running away from it. So that's what I first think about when I hear that, of like, all right, sitting with feelings. It was that misconception for so long of like, no, I've got to disconnect. I can't handle thinking about these things, or facing these hard truths. And I would just shut down. You know, I remember getting a bad grade in school when I was 14 and almost being just like catatonic, just like shutting down, not able to talk because of like I had no tools. I had no
Yeah.
tools for how to deal with stuff. You know,
Yeah. Um. So I have like a emotional retardation
is
almost.
it a technical term?
Yeah. No, but I
Right.
have antisocial personality disorder.
Mm,
Right. So it's like my spectrum of feelings is like this. If everybody's like that,
mm,
and so it's like it isn't that I don't feel things. It's just probably not as deep as what other people feel.
mm-hmm.
And so once I like realized like I can work through shit a lot easier than most people can, I like really cherished that. Like, oh,
It's
dude,
kind
I
of a superpower in some ways.
It is.
Like I'm sure it has. I mean, it has its downsides too. Like I'm sure you don't feel things as deeply as others, but it's like it's also for like from a perspective of processing shitty things that have happened. Like that's kind of a superpower.
Yeah.
Stephanie, thank you. Emotional retardation.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a technical term or a politically correct technical term.
Dude, if I get canceled for that,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, right. You've said
Considering the shit that I've
10
said on here.
times worse
Yeah.
things than that.
But yeah, it was like it was a very eye-opening moment when I realized like I get to do things much easier than other people. I was like, okay, I can deal with that. And then it
Yeah.
was almost like an obligation. I got to deal with this shit
Yeah. Dig into it.
then. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, because it's like, I think it's just recognizing that, and because that's like even what I was thinking about when we were talking about in the first question of like talking to yourself when you're a younger version of you. It's like, how many times growing up did I hear this too shall pass?
Yeah.
And it didn't ever actually land,
Yeah.
of like, no, there's worse things in the world than just sitting with anxiety for an hour. And you ride that bell curve out and it will naturally pass on its own, especially like with hard emotions and realities, talking about it and processing it and actually like shining a light on it.
Yeah.
Like you get through it so much faster. But I would feel anxiety or shame or guilt or stress or whatever it might be, and I would refuse to talk about it and then I would be embroiled in that feeling. I would
Festering.
For sure.
fester in it for 3 days
Mhm.
Take it
instead
out
of
on people.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, passive aggression,
Yeah.
slamming car doors, and it's like, all right, I can marinate myself in this thing for 3 days, or I just talk about it with
Yeah.
somebody and lean into it, and then realize, oh, they've gone through the same thing, or oh, this is really common, or oh, I already know what I need to do next time. I'm going to do that, and like find forgiveness. I think it goes back to like what you were first saying. There's something wrong with me,
Yeah.
or like that's really what was bringing it up.
Just
Where
stepping into those negative beliefs, like the buffalo, walking into those negative beliefs.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, my wife is really good
And
at this
really, it's
stuff.
challenging, right? Challenging the beliefs, not just like walking into it. It's like, is this real?
it's,
Yeah.
it's
You
like
know?
realizing what those beliefs are built on.
Yeah,
It's like a house
Yeah.
of cards of just like nothing. There's not substance
for sure.
there.
But this also feeds the delusion that keeps the fucking problem just so
Well, and then
present.
that's like the question. That's like the intriguing part of it, right? Is like, so if you intentionally feed into and believe these hard, like inaccurate things about yourself, it in a way enables you to keep using.
Oh, dude,
For sure.
So it's almost like, all right, I'm motivated to
Yeah.
continue to believe this
Justifies
pessimistic
it. Yeah.
and justify it, because then it's like, oh, I had no choice. I was wrapped up in so much anxiety that it's like, this is the only thing that can help me. Yeah,
yeah.
no.
So post recovery, interaction with recovery, like once it becomes a choice again, if you choose not to work through your trauma, you are choosing to stay fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Well, and then like, why make that choice is because of misconception of how bad it's going to be. It was almost like the fear around detox.
It's
Like I,
always worst case scenario.
yeah,
Yeah.
where it's like I had this idea that detox is this insurmountable thing that I just can't do. I can't face that,
Yeah,
and it's the same misconception that I had at one point about my trauma and about the stuff that I'd gone through from when I was a kid. It's like, no, that's just too painful. I can't dig into it. And then I dig into it and it's like, oh,
yeah.
okay, this is not pleasant, but
Yeah.
it's not nearly as bad as avoiding
And
it.
the not pleasant is almost typically very relatively quickly mirrored with like the complete opposite of like, oh, this is really pretty
Right.
good.
Well, and then just seeing that growth
Yeah,
and like recognizing like that one of those first times when you don't get like triggered or escalated over something,
yeah,
like, God damn, I would have handled that completely
Yeah.
differently 6 months ago. Like that is like one of the best feelings in life.
yeah,
Like I even had that, within the last 5 years of like times when I would get really worked up by my kids, and I would blow up at them for them acting out, being kids,
yeah,
having a full level 10 meltdown in the Walmart,
Yeah.
like, and recognizing that, like, okay, like, you ever can't fight fire with fire. Like, more anger doesn't put out
for
anger,
sure.
Yeah.
like, but like that was my own. And just even realizing that from a parent's perspective, like the times when I yell at my kids or I'm being passive aggressive towards them has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me.
Yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
this is where like I can't take accountability for what was done to me as a child, right? But what I learned for myself in my recovery was if I just looked at it like like it's irrational. And me and my therapist talked about this, and she was like, "This probably, I don't know, this would work for other people, but if it works for you, fine." But I was like, "Yeah, this was my fault." Like, and now I get to work through it because if it was that guy's fault and I can lean on that again, I fucking will.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know,
for
so
sure.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
My first sponsor said we were sitting down doing my fifth step, and I'm big victim. It's my first real fifth step, and everything. I'm a huge victim, and part of it was getting abandoned as a child, right? And he's like, man, I'm really sorry that you went through that as a child. He goes, do you think that had you not gone through that you'd be sitting here today in front of me? And I was like, fuck no, there's no chance. And he was like, well, there it is. As far as you got was blaming others, and here I am, 36 years old, blaming all of my problems on things that did have an emotional effect on me
Hmm.
for sure. But at this point, it's like, whose fault is it really?
Yeah.
And but that victim card, I love that victim card. I love because I can out victim
Dude, it's a
anybody.
trump card
Yeah, yeah,
all day.
yeah,
Like as long as it happened to me, I've got a fucking excuse.
for sure,
Right.
You know?
for
Right.
sure. And as far as like sitting with emotions goes, I'm like that's part of the reason why I run, you know. And my hips been jacked up, so the last couple weeks I haven't been able to run too much.
Well, dude, when you're running 18 miles, like
Yeah, bro.
it's a
I'm running
that's
that marathon next Sunday. I'm
Next
terrified.
Sunday.
Yeah, I've been getting
And your hip
shortwave
is fucked
therapy.
up?
I've been getting shortwave therapy trying to get this thing right. But the doctor's like, you probably shouldn't run. I said, dude, I'm running with or without you, buddy. I don't care. Let's just get this thing going.
Yeah.
But I work out a lot of that stuff, and that falls back into having that community of men that I could call and be like, hey, because usually it's like I'm focusing on things that I don't have, right,
Mhm.
rather than the things that I do have, right, and that puts me in a mood. Somebody steps on my pride or my ego, usually my wife, right? That's because she's the
dude,
closest one.
the
And
hardest person to impress in your life will always be
yeah,
your wife.
and then I bury it, and then I'm passive aggressive, right? And I did
Yeah.
that probably like 1 year sober. It was December. My wife said something to me. It was her and my mother-in-law, and she said something to me in March. Right? She stops me in the kitchen, and she said, "Hey, man, something's going on with you. You've been being a dickhead since like the beginning of the year." And I'm like, "No, man, I'm good." And we sat there and we talked and talked. It was 4 hours. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. We were done talking,
Wow.
and we pinpointed it that when she said that thing, it hurt me, and I had buried it, and it had been coming out with critical, like being critical over what she was doing and pointing out all of her little defects and stuff like that. But like the realization that at that moment, had I talked about it, had I been able to sit with it, and have some tools to kind of deal with that, then it wouldn't have ever bled over and affected my marriage the way that it did. But because I'm
Mm.
petty like that sometimes,
Oh,
right? You
dude,
hurt
yeah.
me, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna just little razor cuts at you, and let you know, like, and not even tell you why. You just be like, man, you're just a dick,
Mhm.
Yeah.
But being able to sit alone, usually if I'm sitting in my own head, then I'm justifying that feeling, and I need another perspective to come in and be like, hey, bro, what are you talking about, dude? It's
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
what you're saying right now. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm gonna be like, yeah, dude, I'm right. They're wrong. Fuck them, and it's gonna snowball into I might as well get high. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? So
Well, yeah.
I need some another perspective. I need an onlooker to be like, hey, buddy, I need to get it out of this head. Usually by the time it goes out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, this is kind of stupid. I can't
Yeah.
believe I'm saying this,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I need to say that, and I need someone else to to not be scared and not be like, oh, you're right, dude, fuck them. I had those people in my life. I don't have
Mhm.
time for those people.
Mhm.
Right.
Right? I need people that are going to be on because a real friend's going to tell me the truth. He's going to
Yeah.
and those truths saved my life, right?
Yeah.
And I'm that person for them as well, where I'm not afraid to offend them, right? No, dude, you're being a little bitch. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that,
Yeah.
and I need that. But like, as far as left to my own devices, even knowing all that I know today, you let me stew on stuff long enough, then I'm going to justify why I'm stewing on it, and I might plot a little bit more revenge on you. Like, and God forbid you try to be nice. I'd be like, why are you being nice? I mean, I'll turn it all around. And my wife is so good about like recognizing when she does this stuff that I kind of have a resentment against her for this. But she's so good at recognizing when she does it and coming back and talking about it, being like, hey, look, she did it today. And she's like, hey, I shouldn't have raised my voice. Like that was we had a little disagreement, and it was about YouTube for my son, right? And me, I'm sitting there like, yeah, I know. You are wrong. I can't even say, hey, I was probably I went overboard a little bit too. But my first reaction is like, yeah, she better be apologizing.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's
Yeah.
hard it's a lot of the times it's hard for me to look at my own shit because I'm still. It doesn't matter how far I get away. I still got the addict in me. I've still got that delusion in me that I'm right and everyone else is wrong, and it's hard for me to see another perspective. That's why it's
Mm.
important for you to drop those walls and be able to talk to another man or woman that you trust and be like, hey man, am I off base here?
Well, that's how you end the cycle. Is just by ultimately getting it out.
For sure.
And that's even another big part of it because it's talking to another person that you trust about it. And for me, a lot of times, like I'll still use that as a tool often, but a lot of times it's just journaling. Like if I write something out of how I'm thinking and like dig into like why am I feeling this way? Like why was I such an asshole to
Scott,
this person the other
a
day?
unique
Yeah,
mind.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
that's not a good advice to give to other people.
Journaling is like one of the most beautiful tools out there,
Yeah.
man. It's like it's like for me, it's a form of prayer and meditation. It's
Yeah.
like, because like that will just give me perspective. If I'm just like, I open and candidly stream of consciousness, like this is bullshit, that's bullshit. Why was this person blah, 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 da, 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 da. And I'm like, all right, I get it out. And then I walk away for 30 minutes, come back and like pick it up and read it. Then it's like, I get perspective from that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the
Of
average
like,
person
you
though would
know?
get even more mad. They'd be
Yeah.
like, "This motherfucker did this
Yeah.
shit," you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, and like that's a really cool piece of insight though, of just like recognizing how much like resentment can come out in other areas.
For sure.
That was like the hallmark of so my relationship for so long with my kid's mom was like, so she relapsed after our son was born. And it was this long, shitty back and forth of doing well, relapse, doing well, relapse. And it was like me experiencing it on the other side,
for the first time.
Yeah. Where it's like I had been in relationships like way prior, my early and mid 20s, where I was the person that was just off the rails,
Oh, you were sober during
Yeah.
that time.
So I was sober at that time, and then she had relapsed,
Yeah.
Like he was in recovery.
Oh yeah, I was
Yeah.
multiple years in, and that was like the really hard part for me, where I the resentments got so deep,
Yeah.
is because she would relapse, be in a complete blackout, say and do mind-bendingly horrible shit, and then wake up the next day and not remember any of it.
Yeah. Been
And
there.
so
Been
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm carrying all of this, like that was fucked up. We
Yeah.
need to talk about this. And she's like, what are you talking about? No, that didn't happen. And it's like, like, am I fucking crazy?
Yeah.
And that happened, many multiple times, until it got to a point where the pool of resentment was so wide and deep, there was no coming back from
Yeah.
Yeah.
it. It just, there was no amount of couples work or therapy in the world that could save that.
Yeah.
Well, I had that resentment kind of towards my parents, right? Because
Mm.
they essentially chose drugs over their son. And I think like going all the way through having my son and then doing the same thing, like in that I was able to forgive, right?
Mhm.
Because then I understood like I understood that there's nothing in this world that I love more than my son. Nothing even close, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the feeling I get, we were talking about that the other day when I'm holding my son or when he jumps on and hugs me, and
Oh yeah.
nothing compares
Nothing
to that, right?
compares to that.
I give my life for him, but I also chose drugs over him, right?
Yeah.
Those were both true,
Yeah.
right? At the same
Mm.
time, because when I was doing drugs, I felt guilty, and I was taking so many Xanax, I forget I had a kid a lot, but it was that both of those were very true, and then taking that and placing it over my parents and saying, oh, okay, like I understand now,
Yeah.
right? Although I didn't go as far, it was 9 months versus 20 years,
Yeah.
big difference, but same thing,
Yeah.
right? They just had control. Well, my dad kind of got sobered up when I was like 12,
Mhm.
but either way, in all of that, I was able to forgive, because how can I expect forgiveness if I'm not willing to give it for that, right? Because there was no difference. If I left my son in the living room and went in the garage and got high and forgot about him, that happened,
Yeah.
right? And I have to be able to understand that, like, I deserve forgiveness in that. It was a terrible, worst thing I ever did, right? But other than that, like, now I can look at my mother, I can look at my father and be like, oh, y'all are sick,
Oh
just like
yeah,
me.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that was like the gateway to it. Like, because we have a great relationship now. Like myself and
Yeah.
my kid's mom, like she's been sober for a while. She's doing great. Kids are with
Yeah.
her right now. And like really, that was one of the things that helped so much in that process, is just finding compassion.
Yeah.
And like I understand what she went through,
Yeah.
in a sense, where it's because it's like I was there myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, she would wake up hungover and not remember any of the stuff. It's like, and then of course, just knowing how quickly shame and guilt
Yeah.
can transform over to defensive-ness. It's
Oh, yeah.
like, so it's
Yeah, that is the first thing that
right.
happens, right?
Well, and then like I was even like in recovery, I was looking for her to fix this feeling that I had had.
Right.
Where I had this feeling of hurt, of anger, and it's like, no, it's your responsibility to absolve me of this. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, like,
Yeah.
like, wouldn't that be nice? And that's where, like, that constant, like, pursuit of closure, or of someone outside of me solving a
Yeah.
problem is just a setup,
Well,
where it's like, because I'll think of like, all right, like say a relationship with my mom who died when I was 19, and there was a lot of things that were left unsaid, and please, even still, I was 19 years old. It's like, I was barely like I was an adult in the eyes of the law, but that's it. Like
yeah.
my brain was still a child's brain,
Mhm.
and so that was something I carried with me for a long time. Was like I never got that closure. I never got that ability to talk to her about some of the fucked up stuff that happened when I was a kid. And it was later on in adulthood realizing it's like that healing process has nothing to do with her, where she could magically stand, apparate in front of me and say a deep, heartfelt thank you. Would I feel any better? Like maybe a little bit, but not really.
Yeah.
It's
But I
like,
mean, if that did happen and she appeared in front of you, would you waste that time? Like, let's talk about the
yeah,
shit that you
let's
fucked
dig
up.
into this
Yeah.
trauma. Yeah,
Right.
right.
One of the things that I had to realize about myself that then allowed me to also project this to other people was that intention had nothing to do with all the fucked up shit that I did. I
Mhm.
didn't want to do that shit. I wanted to do the right thing. I didn't want to be a fucked up person. I wanted to be a good person or whatever.
Mhm.
But it was like all those things that I missed, or like one of the big things was like at my grandpa's 70th birthday, my brother had to, it was like all of the oldest grandchildren from all the different families like spoke, and he was like, yeah, somebody else should be doing this, but he's not here. Right. And it was like, I
Mm,
didn't intentionally do that.
no.
Right. And neither did anybody else.
Well,
Like,
it's like we think of like the rewiring of the brain that happens in active addiction, where it's like not using is equal to death,
yeah,
and how our fucked up upside down brains are. Like not using, staying sober is equal to death.
yeah,
So it's like, okay, if that let's pretend that reality that is like an actual real thing, then missing your grandpa's 70th birthday versus death.
death. Yeah,
Then it's like, okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
And that's just like it's not reality, but it is like in that moment, it was our reality,
yeah,
So then it's like, hanging out with your son and being there versus death. Then it's like, okay, it kind
yeah.
of
It
makes
it
sense.
brings it into perspective, but it's just still so
It's so messed up.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's just, the nature of the beast.
it is.
Yeah. So I mean, then that's like, in order to pop a nice, generic term for it, but it's like in order to heal it, you have to feel it, you know, and or our defects grow in the darkness.
I'm gonna get that
There's a
tattoo.
classic one. Yeah,
In order to
maybe
heal it, you got to feel it.
dude, like right on the knuckles.
That lower back.
Heal it, feel it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's what we talk about all the time. You got to face those demons.
No, yeah, and it's
There's
not
no
that
way
bad.
around it. Yeah,
It is not that bad. It sucks,
Yeah.
but it is like 1,000 times easier than the time and effort and energy that goes into cramming that shit down.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it just bleeds out over everything.
Mm-hmm.
The more you cram, the more it bleeds, and it's over work, over marriage, over relationships. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just turned into this bitter person. Especially probation sober. That was
Oh, dude.
I was talking with like it
the
was
worst.
like 3 friends of mine last week, and these are people that I know like through community recovery program in Colorado. 3 of them that I hadn't seen in 6 months, and then like came back around, and all 3 of them were like, "Yeah, I got off probation, and convinced myself I could just do it one more time."
For sure.
Like that is so damn common.
Yeah,
You
I'm gonna
know?
control it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, the consequences hold a lot of weight a
yeah.
lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's where I was lucky that I got into so much trouble,
Yeah.
where it's like I got in enough trouble to where like I was forced to be sober until like the lights turned on.
You know what though?
You
Like
know?
you're again like the benefit of the 18 months,
Yeah.
right? It was he got sent to an 18-month program
Mm-hmm.
through the courts, but like this isn't still not normal for courts to be sending people to like super long-term stuff because most long-term stuff got cut anyway to
In
30
Texas, it was
months.
like Cinecor, and they dropped their contract, I think, last year.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even still that turned from 6 months to 3 months recently.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I heard. I don't know.
I think it was like a labor camp or something.
Yeah.
Well, that was like I was at about 6 months in when like the lights turned on.
I was
Like
18 months into a
yeah.
3-year. right? It was
where I
18
actually,
months. Yeah. Where I
So
was like, oh
the
shit.
lights come
oh,
on.
well, yeah, well, eventually. I was so like, so the thought pattern came from, I broke my leg when I was in this treatment program. And I basically, like, they had me in a horrible job. It was a work exchange kind of a program, old school TC, you know. So I was working at a sawmill, and it was 110 degrees in there. It was like, and I was working this reciprocal arm saw. Did I talk about this with you? I talked about it
No,
with you
me, yeah,
before. But like, so it was 110 degrees in there and clouds of sawdust all day, you know, and it would just stick to you. And it's this paste,
Yep.
wood paste. I'd blow my nose at the end of a shift, and it was all
yeah.
wood paste that would come out. And I absolutely hated it. And I finally was able to get my license renewed. And then I was like, okay, I can be a driver. I can be a driver for this treatment program. And so made that shift over, and then 4 days later broke my leg on a job site.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
But you
so
didn't have to go back to the sawmill
no, I
with
didn't.
a broken leg.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And so like the only job they could put me in was like, they called it night monitor. And so it was like
Nice.
glorified night security, night watchman. And so I just like make sure I try to, you know, I had like 3 tasks that I had to do over the course of the entire shift, you know, and it was like lock up, put the food away, make sure nobody's having sex. Like that was my job. And like call us if like a fire starts.
Yeah.
That was the whole job. And I'm in my wheelchair going through the back of this property, and it's like a summer night where it's like super cool, and like the sun is, or not the sun, the stars are all out and everything. And I have this deep feeling of just like genuine like happiness and like comfort and like, oh man, this is beautiful. I feel so good. And then I take a step back from it, and it's like, God damn, on paper, your life really sucks. Where it's like, you got a broken leg, you're in a long term treatment program, none of your family wants to talk to you, you have all these felonies hanging over you if you don't complete this treatment program. It's like, why am I actually happy? And the thing was sobriety, where it's like, at that point, you know, it was the longest sober that I'd ever been in my life. And it's like, well, what do I have to gain versus what do I have to lose by ever using again? Because up until that point, you know, I thought, you know, I can control this thing. I'll be
Yeah.
able to have a glass of port on New Year's, toast it like a gentleman,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
a snifter of brandy on Christmas Day.
Mm.
You know? Real gentlemanly like,
Yeah, real class.
real class,
Yeah.
pinky extended.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I can control it at that point. And now, but then I go into that point of like, can I control this? Like, what's going to happen after I have that one drink? It's like, I know my next thought is going to be, you know, two is
Dude,
twice as good as one.
this is why I think he has such a unique mind, is because like he ultimately got clean once and realized
Yeah.
all this. It took me fucking
It took me a long
years
time.
of treatment and
This is by the
just
skin. This is by the skin of my teeth in those early
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was many multiple times.
and
Yeah.
he was in a therapeutic community where they weren't talking about this shit.
Yeah.
No,
You know,
they
it was
basically
like,
just like left you to your own devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, all right, now we're gonna make sure you don't use, but like all this recovery shit. Here's some books.
Yeah.
Go
Was
figure
there
it
like
out.
a hierarchy in the dorm?
Yeah.
Like we had an accountant, a president, all that stuff
Yeah.
that ran the dorm.
Oh, yeah.
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 I did that. That Safe P. I did that
Mhm.
when I was like 19.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for 7 months.
It was all like consequence driven.
Yeah.
So like
There's pull-ups.
thousands of oh yeah, pull ups.
Pull up, sir. Trafficking. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I manipulated the shit out of that thing. Yeah.
I did too. I mean, I didn't really like get into trouble there, where
Yeah.
like they pile the shit on you until I was a little over a year into the program, and then like they caught wind that like, ooh, like he'd never really gotten into a bunch of shit here, so they just piled it on me,
yeah.
like because you get these write ups, you know,
Right.
where it's like rule infraction, and you'd come and check. It was this ritualistic thing. You get home at the end of the day after 5 o'clock, and you go to your mailbox and you see that little yellow piece of paper sitting in there. It's like, ah, fuck.
You got to do confrontations too.
Yeah, they would do that.
gaming.
Oh yeah, gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would do all
That's
that.
what they call it, gaming.
They call it the game. They call it
I was a
confrontational reality
I was a
therapy
beast at
games.
that. I do
So,
Wizard of Oz confrontations. Oh
oh,
man,
dude.
yeah.
What is the Wizard of
I just
Oz
make the
confrontation?
whole dorm say, "If I only had a brain." Everybody was, when I was confronting the person.
Wow.
Yeah, and the counselors there, the counselor said that when I first got there, she said that I reminded her of her son who passed away, and I used
Use
that.
the fuck
Oh
out of that.
man, yeah. They made me
So,
accountant, and I would just forge slips all the time, keep us off a tight house. Yeah, it was. I mean, didn't do
so the
much.
origins around this all started with Synanon. Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude. Okay, well, uh, it evolved into like some other shit, but like the therapeutic community, the ones that we went to are like sister programs. They're like
Mhm.
modeled off the same playbook, and the gaming situation, dude. It was our how did you do it every day?
No, it was like I think it was like 2 or 3 times a week,
We did it every
every day.
day, every day.
It was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something.
Oh,
And they
dude,
actually just got rid of it.
really?
Yeah, I was talking to they were actually at that conference last
Yeah.
week, and they got rid of the games. And I'm like, all right,
I enjoyed
look
it.
at you. I mean, because it serves no
I
purpose.
enjoyed it.
Dude, it serves no purpose. Like the
No,
person
it
that's
doesn't.
getting yelled at
Yeah.
just immediately shuts down.
For sure.
Immediately shuts down.
So
Like
where
they're not getting any of that.
where I was at, you were allowed to lie. So people would just make shit up,
Oh
and
yeah.
they're pulling people out of the games and confronting them about what they're hearing in the game. So people are just getting fucked over, like
Wow.
making shit up
Yeah, that's crazy.
just to get like if you violate these rules, you're just so fucked, right? And it's like you cannot stand up, you can't
just gotta
like
take
threaten
it.
my, you just gotta take it,
Mhm.
right? And it was like
Say thank you at the end.
people would like make up the craziest shit, like you're sneaking out at night and da da da, da and like all this
Yeah.
shit. People are getting pulled out, like in trouble for, and they gotta like justify, like where were you, what were you doing, who can vouch for this, like it's like oh no,
That whole
dude.
TC world. I mean, because that was what were we talking about? Yeah, we were talking about that at lunch today, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, where it's like they have this roster there because there was 140 people in this program. It's like a big ass program.
yeah,
140 people, and when you're brand new, you are number 140,
Yeah.
and you slowly work your way up this list. Until you get to number one, and then you move on to the next step. You go on to sober living, and you start getting some freedom back.
You did
And
that too, sober living, everything.
yeah, so I did 6 months of sober living after that. Yeah,
So 18 months plus 6 months.
plus 6 months,
sober
so 2 years altogether.
living?
Yeah, man. And that was the real because it's like I kept a whole bunch of weird shit from back then. I have this trunk that's just like full of
Yeah.
my old manuals and like all this old like little write up slips.
I
And
wish I
like,
still had that.
Me
stuff.
dude,
too.
I'm
Man, I
like
wish
I'm
I
so
still had
glad it is like a
Yeah.
trip to bring
cool.
to crack that sucker open and look at some of this stuff. But it's that was the realization afterwards is because there's so much just politics there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's so many just weird little rules and like drama. Oh, the drama, where you get like, I can't believe I got a 5 and 2 for doing, and that'd be where you sit on the bench for 5 hours and then 2 weeks of slave labor, basically.
Mm.
Yeah,
And it's like, I think back on it, I had hours and hours and hours. I probably had 300 hours that I sat on a church pew motionless over the
Yeah.
course of my time there. That was like one of the big consequences
Wow.
there. They would have you like dig holes. So like you'd go out in the July sun and just dig a hole for 8 hours and then fill
Yeah.
it right back in again.
yeah. Did you
Yeah.
ever do like bury your like your sins thing?
Not
They're like,
really,
look,
no.
you're gonna dig this hole and you're gonna bury whatever you did in it, and you're gonna like have this whole ceremony. Yeah, dude.
I didn't have that.
Not at
No.
the one that I was at, but at a different one. It's called the Jericho Project.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and they like make you dig holes and bury your shit.
I did it. I mean, it probably would have carried a little bit more weight if it had. No, this was just like we don't-
Consequence.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, all right, it's 105 degrees out. You're gonna dig that hole until it's about yay deep, and then you're gonna fill it back in again. All right, have fun. And they had like those big ass pallets, like not the thin ones, but the thick ones with the railroad ties
Yeah,
in them
yeah.
that are like blue
Mm-hmm.
that weigh like 140 pounds or something. And there would be a mountain, like literally a
Stack that
mountain
there.
mountain of pallets on one side of the parking lot, and then it's 200 feet over to the other side. And it's like, all right, If you fellas don't move that mountain of pallets from over there to over there by 4 p.m., there's going to be an extra consequence.
Oof.
And so it's like, oh my God, my shoulders have never been so sore in my entire life.
Yeah, that's gangster.
Did
They
you-
didn't do any of that in SAP. They did. You had to do reflection squares, sit in Indian style, and get a bar of soap and do a square. They did tight house. We never went on it, but yeah, that's
They get and,
Yeah.
and
Well-
they've changed too. Like, and it's for the better because it's also like I can recognize now looking back on it, the time on the bench actually was beneficial because it's like it was almost like my introduction to mindfulness, where
Yeah.
it's like I am just stuck in my own head for like my biggest one was 17 hours. So it was from 5:30 in the morning until 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
Sitting there in a church pew. just like that.
Uncomfortable.
yeah.
Uncomfortable as shit for 15 or 17 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, when I got there, I had to sleep on it. I had to sleep on the
Yeah,
bench.
they would do that back then. Like they would, like if you got into a lot of trouble, they'd just say, "All right, here's a pillow, here's a blanket. You're gonna be sleeping on this church pew tonight."
Mm.
You know,
Church
it's
pew
like-
with no cushion.
No
It's
cushion.
a
cushion.
wooden church pew.
wooden church
That stuff
pew.
just never worked for me. The
Well, and it
behavior
doesn't work for
approach.
that many people.
Yeah,
Like in
it-
all reality, like it works. Like it worked for me in the sense that I was just really motivated.
Yeah.
Like I was ready. I would like have done anything
Yeah.
to not go back to where I was before.
I wasn't. I was
you know?
18. I was nowhere near.
You were nowhere near ready.
nowhere near. No, nothing in there addressed like the values, and I had to have that. Like that's when meeting Aaron and all that stuff came into play because he really addressed the values. Like, and I had that value shift because
Mm.
like I can change my behaviors for a time being, and that's cool. But eventually, all this other bullshit that we were talking about earlier is going to catch up with me, and I'm not going to have a way to deal with it, and then I'm not going to have an aim, right? Because my
Mm.
value is I'm worthless, I don't belong, or whatever. So that carries with me no matter what I'm acting like. So I needed that value of like, oh, I need to be a man that deserves to have a son, right? A man that deserves to have a wife and this life that I have, because I didn't deserve, I still don't deserve what I have today. I don't believe that. I believe that I was very blessed, but man, it was that value shift that really got me, because then I had my aim shifted, and it didn't become this self-fulfilling prophecy that I kept doing that we kind of talked about earlier.
Well,
But-
it's like that values. I mean, and that's such a big thing of like realizing that the reward can be the values.
Yeah.
So in the sense of like, all right, why do I take that extra time to talk to my kids instead of yell at them?
Yeah.
I value being a good dad,
For
being
sure.
a present dad. Why do I do the dishes when like the sink is full? It's because I
Dude,
want.
it's the
I want
dropping the ice.
Yeah.
Dropping the ice. Do you pick it up?
yeah,
Why do you take the shopping cart back?
yeah, right. I always take the
You
shopping
know what I
cart
did?
back.
I
always
quit going to
do.
the grocery store.
That's
That's how
funny.
you solve that
You just-
problem.
I just Instacart everything.
I used to do it. I did a group on perception, and I would always use that as an example. And I would say, 99% of me may want to do the right thing and take this cart back, but there's that 1% that walks by some people, and I'm thinking, oh, they see how good of a man I am. You know what I mean? Like that perception of, look at this
Ah.
good thing that I'm doing. Sometimes I'll walk it all the way in, and I'll stop traffic just so they see me putting it back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that little selfishness piece in there.
That's the part. to
I got
call
cart
yourself
narked
out
again
on.
the other
Yeah.
day.
Do you
Yeah.
not put the cart back?
I know. Remember we talked about.
Yeah,
I
we talked
quit.
about this.
I quit going to the grocery store, but also Stephanie, that girl, did the same thing on a live. She was like, "Wait, you don't put the grocery? What the fuck?" I was like, "This is the fourth time this has
It's a
happened
social
on this
contract, man.
I think that's
we
where
live
I
in a
heard
society.
it. That's why
Yeah.
I said it. Yeah. That's funny.
I had a test the other day where grocery store with the kids just to pick up some odds and ends, and we're like in a really big rush. And I get out to the car and I realize, like, I got a 12-pack of bubble water in the bottom of the cart that I didn't pay for. It's like,
Did you go back and pay for it?
I went back in
You
and I
got to.
paid.
That
I
karma-
went back in and I paid for it. Even though my kids are like, I'm hungry, I want to go
Yeah.
home. And it's like, no, I just got to
Yeah.
do it. It's like one of those things that like, that's like one of the biggest shifts. Like it's the little things in recovery.
Yeah,
It's like
for
doing
sure.
that, like actually
Karma's
stack up and
real.
Yeah.
matter.
Well,
you
what it
know?
is the level of accountability,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? Is I think
The dude was shocked when he came back in. He's like, yeah, okay.
In this economy?
they were like, "Wait a
Sure.
second, we like write this shit off."
Yeah.
Oh well,
You
I'm
ain't
in
writing it off.
recovery.
Well, I
Yeah.
was
Dude,
surprised.
did you tell him that?
too.
You're like, "Dude, I'm in recovery. I got to do it."
No, I
I-
didn't. I didn't. I didn't dig too far. But I was surprised because it was It was at a Walmart, and the dude looked over the receipt as I was walking out.
Oh, that's so
Yeah, they don't-
not. They don't. That doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
they're-
are they? What are they even doing? What are they looking at the
Nothing.
receipt for?
no, they gave him a job.
Yeah. A lot of times I feel bad for those people that are sitting there doing that.
It's the
like-
same thing with like Costco. It's like, why are they looking for stuff that was missed?
I feel like they actually look.
Costco.
Costco
Yeah.
does seem to
Probably.
look because they usually count, but
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. I've never had them actually catch something.
But yeah, well, how many times has it happened where you gotten through at Costco
Many times.
with unpaid items?
Oh, with unpaid things,
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Like
no,
they're
no.
thorough.
Yeah.
They're well-paid union workers.
Yeah.
They do their job and they do it well.
Yeah, that's their store.
Oh shit! It's already 6:45. Look at that.
All right, guys.
We called it.
We
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah, we went flying past.
All right, man. Thank you
Well,
guys for coming.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you.
As usual.
Great
2
as
weeks.
usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be back again in a couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And for the 2 people that watched basically the entire time, thank you.
yeah. We're probably just in the background noise for them. You know,
No,
as they
man.
cook dinner.
Dr. Shaw asked us, he goes like, dude, who actually watches this shit?
It's Stephanie. Is Stephanie still on there?
I don't
My
think so.
mother.
Yeah, your mom.
You got to send a thumbnail and I could put it out.
I know. I dropped the ball on that today. I actually really dropped